on, hit me up. Hit me up, Lemon. Let's go. Hit me up. Hit me up. Hit me up, hit me up, hit me up. Come on. Left this Lemon. Hurry. Wait. Is he joining the... He's gonna join... Oh, there he is. Okay. Is this call unavailable? I'll call you. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
Hello?
Hey. How you doing?
What's up, buddy? I'm good. How are you? Hello?
I'm doing A-okay. I just got a $5 donation from Afro Lefty. I'll get into that. I'll get to that donation in a second. Yeah, dude. So you want to debate about Bernie or bust, huh?
Yes. 1 second. I'm gonna start streaming if that's cool with you. You good with that?
It's fine. Bernie or bust, huh? Yeah. For those that are that don't know, I did a video about Bernie or bust recently and why I think it's really harmful, and it revealed I got a lot of really stupid people in my audience, like a lot of actual fake fans in my audience too, who unironically said, I used to think you were cool, but you're only Bernie or you're only vote blue no matter who because Vosh told you to. You're just a Vosh copycat. And that those same people would be in my chat super supportive before, and I realized, wow, there's a lot of big pieces of shit in my community that would freak the fuck out the second I say something you disagree with. So yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, you should vote. Yeah, by the way, chat, vote blue no matter who, guys. Vote for Biden in November. All right. You ready to debate?
Yeah.
Alrighty.
So I guess
with your memes.
Yeah, I guess I'll start with the characterization of my position. So I wouldn't necessarily call myself Bernie or bust because I wouldn't just vote for Bernie. I'd vote for someone like Elizabeth Warren too if they won the nomination. However, I wouldn't vote for someone like Biden. So it's a semantical difference because I did watch your video and I saw that you said that was Bernie or bust regardless. But I mean, if we want to refer to...
I don't recall saying it's Bernie or bust. At this point, it's effectively Bernie or bust because Warren isn't in the race. But
yeah, so I'd say it's a semantical difference, so it's not much harm. Yeah. So what would you say is your main arguments or points in which you think that voting for Biden is best for harm reduction, I suppose?
Okay, yeah. So if we look at, I know you're going to say, oh, you have to say why Biden is good, but my argument isn't that Biden is good. My argument is that Biden is better than Trump.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you what Trump is and what Biden is not, sort of like a Venn diagram type thing, right? So Donald Trump, for a start, will most definitely 100% when Ruth Bader Ginsburg probably dies in the next election cycle, probably appoint a very conservative, anti-Roe v. Wade, anti-minorities in general, court justice to the Supreme Court, which will mean conservatives will outnumber progressives 3-2, I believe, if I remember correctly, in the Supreme Court, which will mean Roe v. Wade will be gone for probably many decades. So that's a big one. Having a completely a conservative Supreme Court would be absolutely fucking detrimental. And I think there's a good case to make that Biden probably wouldn't appoint a Republican to be in the Supreme Court. On top of that, Donald Trump, I believe hate crimes have been higher than they've ever been in decades under his presidency. I mean, we've seen that fascists and reactionaries have seen him being president, not necessarily as their end game, but as a win. Because he does represent a lot of their views. He's pretty nationalist. He's a crypto fascist, and so they see him as a him being in power as a boost for him. He has brought together the Republican Party like never before. There's a pretty high approval rating for him in the Republican Party. So he's brought them together, which is pretty dangerous. He's said that he doesn't think that trans people are capable of serving in any capacity in the military, including being a cook or a graphics artist, which assumes that the president of the United States, Donald Trump, thinks that trans people are so mentally unfit to do literally any job or any thing in society. Donald Trump lies openly about things that are demonstrably untrue, which is really scary for the president of the United States, something that Biden doesn't really seem to do all that much. Lying about numbers that are just publicly available. God, do I need to list things that Trump has done that are terrible that Biden is better with? I mean, Biden has his bad track record, but compared to Trump, I don't think they're equal in in their harm.
I mean, that's the position I do hold. I don't advocate for voting for Trump. I think they're probably going to be equivalent in the harm that they hold. The points that you addressed, I think I'm going to just go down one by one, if that's cool with you.
Fine with me.
Starting with the judges, I don't think it's very substantiated the idea that Biden would pick a judge who would protect Roe v. Wade or a non-Republican judge when we've literally seen Biden on this campaign trail entertain the idea of being this bipartisan candidate and actually choosing Republican vice president. I continue to link in that as well. Also, we can see that Biden's history, he has voted and supported the Hyde Amendment.
So you do. Can I interrupt you really quick? So
yeah, go
the
ahead.
argument that Biden might appoint a conservative judge is one thing. However, Trump will 100% appoint an anti-Roe v. Wade conservative judge if he gets the opportunity to put another court justice in power. I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah,
it's 100% with Trump, but
I
maybe
agree,
with Biden.
and for the well, I don't know about maybe. It seems fairly likely that at least Biden would vote or would appoint someone who is anti-Roe
it's more
v.
complicated
Wade.
than that. It's more complicated than that because Biden has he has to like toe the line with the Democratic establishment to a degree if he wants to continue to be seen in a positive light by them. So he's going to
he's maintained in a positive light by them throughout his history during his membership of Congress, in which he's voted for, or supported the Hyde Amendment and also voted for to end federal funding for abortion for victims of rape and incest.
Yeah, but if because of him Roe v. Wade gets overturned, it would be terrible for the Democratic Party. Like, honestly, if you want to hurt the Democratic Party, which is an argument I've heard from a lot of busters, you would want to have Biden get elected and then him do a terrible job and like end up getting if he actually did appoint a conservative judge and we did end up losing Roe v. Wade, that would push a lot of the American left, like Democrats, I should say, way further to the left and be way against the establishment. That would just that would be the argument there. I mean, Trump's definitely going to appoint an anti-Roe v. Wade judge. At least for Biden, it's a maybe, or maybe a 60-50 or 60-40% chance. I don't know.
I mean, it's still the fact that we even entertain the thought that a Democratic candidate might appoint a judge that is anti-abortion is
it doesn't
hysterical.
matter though, because there's a 100% chance that Trump will and a non 100% chance that Biden will.
I mean, regardless of that, or we probably shouldn't vote for someone who has legitimized this throughout their history of being a representative. They have voted against abortion bills and voted to defund abortion and such. Why wouldn't they do so when it comes to...
Donald Trump has said that says that a woman should be punished if they seek out an abortion.
But yeah, what makes you think that Biden wouldn't appoint someone who would wouldn't appoint a judge who is for defunding abortion, like his
because he hasn't said that a woman should be punished for getting an abortion, and Trump has.
No, but
my argument is that Trump is, and that is that Biden is better than Trump.
His entire history, he's voted for bills that defund abortion and make it illegal. Why would he stop when it comes to appointing a judge on the Supreme Court?
Because he has to toe the line with a lot of the Democratic Party.
But the thing is that the Democratic Party still continues to paint him in a good light and as the front runner, and he's done this throughout his past.
I promise you, if the DNC continued to paint him in a bright light or a positive light after he ended up being responsible for the repealing of Roe versus Wade, he would the Democratic Party would lose a lot of fucking support, and the American Democrats would move further left.
We can see that the Democratic establishment doesn't care if they lose support or not. That's why they gypped Bernie out of the gig two nominations in a row.
They did fuck over Bernie, don't get me wrong, but Biden is the more popular candidate.
Yes, right. That's true. However, that doesn't mean
it's not organic. It's artificial. They're artificially making him the more popular candidate by smearing Bernie, the mainstream media defying him of coverage, throwing him nothing but hard balls and at the debates, and throwing nothing but softballs at Biden, refusing to cover anything negative about Biden, like the recent rape allegations. It's obviously artificial support, but he is the more popular candidate. I mean, it's
Yeah,
unfortunate.
yeah,
It's true.
I agree, but that doesn't mean that the Democratic establishment can't still support him at the expense of part of their base. Like, we
I
see
mean,
that.
they're going to lose. Well, sure, but then they lose part of their base, and then maybe Green Party, the Green Party, or any the independent party ends up getting more support, and maybe we get an independent candidate one day down the road elected because
I
the
mean,
American left moves further left than the
it,
Democratic Party, which is how this works, right? This is what we want
it,
to
it
happen.
would
We
seem
don't want to bring everybody. Okay, I'll let you go.
it would seem more likely that that would just end up splitting the left vote among the left centrist and the far left, in which that would mean that that would guarantee a Republican presidency almost every single time. There's no way that the Democratic Party can exist and the Green Party like as a substantial actual contenders, and one of them actually gets the nomination.
Repeat that.
I'm saying that if like the Green Party and the Democratic Party are seen as like actual contenders, are like both actually legitimate and have a chance to win, they're not going to, because they're going to
Oh,
split the vote,
it would split the
and the
base.
Republicans would win.
Maybe the idea is essentially that like this happened with UKIP, right, in the UK. Like UKIP, it like didn't like went too far, and like people just said no, fuck UKIP, and they all went for the Tories, right? Isn't that what happened?
I'm not too up to date, but
From my,
probably.
I'm not completely up to date on either, but from what I heard, that's what happened. That's why UKIP is fucking dead. Part of it was also Sargon and Count Dankula killing that fucking party. But yeah, UKIP like lost all of its credibility and popularity. Like David Farage, I think his name was, like left it and everything. I feel like that's what would happen to the American Democratic Party, and everyone would move to like some new independent or Green Party if the Democratic Party stopped representing the ideals of the American left. Nigel Farage, not
I
David
mean,
Farage. So.
the Democratic Party is not represented the ideals of the American left for forever.
When we talk about the American left, we're talking about wine mom liberals that like, gay people are all right. Trans people are probably not okay. Most
And
like wine mom liberals, like they aren't leftists and they
so
aren't extremely progressive, but they are left compared to the Republican Party.
yeah,
Very few people in America would be considered, like even in the Democrat that are vote Democrat, would be considered progressive in other countries,
but
like in Europe and whatnot.
for those people, their outrage is performative. Like, you've seen people start taking out the Me Too from their bios because they realized that Biden was a rapist.
Talked about it already. Yeah.
Do you think I saw your video pop up. Do you think that they're going to actually bat an eye if Joe Biden appoints a judge to overturn Roe v. Wade? They didn't bat an eye. But they didn't bat an eye at that rape allegations, the credible rape allegations. They've literally actively taken out the Me Too from their bios. Their outrage is performative.
For starters, a lot of people don't even know about the Tara Reade accusations because the mainstream media is like massively like working with the DNC to suppress that news and like calling it like a Russian hoax and whatnot. So a lot of people don't know about it, but I guarantee the fucking like millions of women you see marching around the country in favor of like abortion rights and all that shit would be up in arms and leaving the Democratic Party if the DNC were to allow Biden to get rid of Roe versus Wade. It would be fucking detrimental for the Democratic Party.
I mean, I don't think that'd be good, but it
would be fatal for the
exactly.
Democratic Party.
That's why I think that would even support my argument more for why we can't have Joe Biden in there, because the odds of him doing this they're not none. It would ruin the entire Democratic Party, as you're saying. But he's literally said this year.
Of course, I'm not saying it's not none, but for Trump, it's 100%. He
exactly, but there's
versus Wade won. I'm arguing for harm reduction, and there was a chance of harm reduction under Biden that does not exist under Trump.
The argument for harm reduction on this point is still wrong, because you're arguing that if he does appoint a judge that is anti-abortion, that would ruin the Democratic Party. If the Democratic Party's ruined and Republicans win every time, that means in the future that the harm against marginalized groups would be much more exponential than it would be if we just didn't vote for Biden. Because literally, again, this year he has claimed that he is willing to run with a Republican vice president. Vice president.
Give me a second. Hold on. Okay, we're going to walk through this like a bit slower, okay? Trump will 100%, if he gets reelected when RBG dies, put an anti-Roe versus Wade court justice into power, and any civil rights movement going on from there that needs approval from the Supreme Court will be stopped in their tracks. It'll be gone, dead for many, many decades because they serve for life, right? When you have like Kavanaugh and then whoever Trump would put in place would probably be pretty young, you're going to have decades and decades and decades of Republicans running that shit. So Roe versus Wade, guaranteed gone under Trump. And it would unite the Republican Party because they all fucking hate Roe versus Wade. They all hate abortion, right? And his approval rating is already really high. So all it would do would strengthen the Republican Party if Trump gets reelected, and he inevitably does get rid of Roe versus Wade. If Biden gets elected and he ends up going with the possibility of putting a Republican anti-Roe versus Wade court justice in power, and he does that, we do lose Roe versus Wade, and that sucks. And we do probably lose rights for a lot of other minority groups that may try to march for civil rights and all that in the future that requires the approval of the Supreme Court. However, this also harms the Democratic Party and forces them to either move further left of their positions and revoke their approval for their approval of Biden, or alternatively, it moves the American left further left and makes them more willing to vote for independent candidates or for a new party that may form outside of the Democratic Party, which, if we were still operating in our current system under our electoral system, needs to happen for actual change, reformist change to actually take place until revolution. This needs to be our goal. Biden is harm reduction, but we still need to continue to support radical change even after Biden is elected. Even if Bernie was elected, Bernie is only harm reduction. He's not revolution. Yeah. So I like the argument here doesn't really work for you. Like Biden would unquestionably be better. We'd have a better chance under Biden unquestionably than under Trump.
Well, the point was that I was making is that, as you said, it's 100% likely under Trump, right? Even if that's true, which it is, that doesn't destroy the Democratic Party. As you said, hold on, no, Biden, if Trump does it,
okay.
As you said, if Biden is the one to do it, that would destroy the Democratic Party because it would result in a split. So if anyone's going to be doing it, wouldn't you rather have it be the Republican Party than the Democratic Party, because it would ruin the Democratic Party?
If the Republican Party does it, it will bring the Republican Party together and make them stronger than they've ever been. If
the Democratic Party does it, it would split them forever, as you said, because it would push the American people either further left or they'd stay in the Democratic. What would happen is the Democratic Party would have to face a decision. They would either, to ensure their survival, they would either have to move further left and be willing to endorse people like Bernie Sanders and AOC in her future presidential run, which we basically all know is going to happen, which would be nice. It would be nice that if this ended up happening by the time AOC is running for president, when she's like, what is it, like 35 is the lowest age, or like 45, I think it is. It would cause the Democratic Party would either have to move further left or be fractured, and half of the American people, or even more of the Democratic voting American people, would move to a new, more progressive party that didn't literally nominate a anti-Roe versus Wade candidate. But we know how these smug liberals work. Not the entirety of the Democratic Party would split. It'd be
not the entirety.
It'd be mostly only the Bernie or busters.
Not even, no. Millions of women across the country went out and marched. That is, and you got to think about the millions of women and just people in general who don't go out and actually march for it. When you have millions of people going out and marching for a movement, which is to get nationwide reproductive rights for women, know for a fact that there is a significant amount of the Democrat voter base that supports Roe versus Wade and would be fucking infuriated with the Democratic Party if the candidate they end up nominating repealed Roe versus Wade, or put a court justice in power that repealed Roe versus Wade, and would permanently, or not permanently, but for at least the next few decades, handicap and hamstring any progressive movement in this country for the time, like a foreseeable future. It would cause the entire that
would be a reason not to support Biden.
It's not. The Democratic Party is, if it currently goes as it currently stands, is we're going to keep on getting Hillary's and Biden's and Obama's nominated, which are just going to continue to maintain the status quo. The goal is, as long as we're working under our current electoral system, is to make as many reformist changes as we possibly can to make life as comfortable for us as we possibly can, until eventually capitalism reaches a point where it is unsustainable and revolution happens, and it's either going to be socialism or barbarism. We all know the memes.
But do you actually think that there would be enough people to shift to the Green Party or willing to vote for independence that would actually lead to essentially be as powerful as the Democratic Party is now, in which the left would
I
be
mean,
able to defeat the Republicans. It seems like it would be more plausible that the two end up splitting and then the Republicans just have an easy win every time.
no, if the Democratic Party saw that like a significant, like I'd say roughly 2/3 of their voter base would probably be lived with the DNC if they appointed Biden. Biden ended up being responsible for the repealing of Roe versus Wade. Like this is one of the biggest issues in uh this is one of the biggest issues in current like modern politics, like the like abortion rights, women's like reproductive rights. Like this is a huge fucking deal. If Biden ended up coming out fully just as against it, then it would be detrimental as fuck for the Democratic Party. They would either be forced to move further left and be willing to endorse someone like AOC or face their demise. That would be the inevitable thing. And I think the DNC has enough self-preservation in it to probably move further left because they don't want to become completely just capable of ever electing another president.
Okay, I see. Yeah, and you think it? So you think the Democratic Party would be the thing to shift left, and which who they end up nominating just as the base, or are you still arguing that the people would switch to voting for independents or different parties?
I think a lot of people would either abstain from voting, which is what I'm advocating for people not to do, or more likely they would probably go for a like an independent party. Yeah, a lot of people would feel. I mean, a lot of people are already doing this. A bunch of Bernie supporters are Bernie or bust, and they're just like, yeah, no, I mean, I'm not going to support the DNC after this, and so we're already seeing this happen now. We're seeing like a lot of Democrat. I think Biden's going to lose. I am willing to bet my money that Biden will be blown the fuck out by Trump. When they got on stage and debate, Donald Trump is going to steamroll Biden. Biden is 100% has dementia. Trump's going to win, but I would like to see the American left try to make as big of a effort as possible to vote against the literal fascist that is going to be reelected in November. And yeah, we're already seeing that now with like a lot of Bernie bros like saying, yeah, no, I'm not going to vote for Biden, right? I'm going to make the Democratic Party move further left. And so if we lost Roe versus Wade, imagine that times more than 100.
So do you think if a Democratic president appointed a judge who would vote down Roe versus Wade, do you think that would result in any substantial political apathy among the
political apathy?
Yeah, among the left.
Yeah. 100%. If like if a Democrat, if like if like the DNC nominated Biden or does nominate Biden, which it will, and Biden ends up getting elected, and he or any other like even if it was Hillary Clinton or Obama, ended up nominating a court justice that just fucking repealed Roe versus Wade, got rid of it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this would lead to like a massive fucking outrage in the Democratic Party.
No. I'm saying like political apathy, like whereas in like people more so become like hopeless or like not willing to engage in like politics, like you're saying, like the Bernie or Buster.
No, it would make them more angry. When I say sorry, I misinterpreted how you meant apathy. No, it's gonna make them fucking angry.
Do you think that's more likely under if Biden did it or if Trump were to do it?
If Biden did it.
Why so?
I think the main issue would be because a lot of voters feel like the DNC or the Democratic Party represented a lot of their views. And then when they find that there is no party that represents their views and represents the change that they want to see and the change that is best for them, they're going to find themselves being radicalized. I mean, this happened with the civil rights movement in the 1950s and 60s, right? Black Americans didn't have any politicians that were vying for their rights and vying for their best interests. And so they got together and they formed a fucking massive civil rights movement that swept the fucking nation. It was one of the biggest like movements of all time. This is just a thing that happens whenever a large amount of people in a country find that no party or no politicians, no groups in power are representing their best interests.
Okay. And my argument against that would be that it would seem to me that it would probably be more likely that people become politically apathetic if Biden were to do it because the one party that they thought was representing their views and ideals, they actually find out wasn't. So where do they have to turn at that point?
The evidence. I don't think there's any evidence for that. I mean, if you point at like the past of what happens when certain groups of people feel like they're disenfranchised, what they do, they usually resort to massive political movements and forming of new parties, forming of civil rights movements and marches and riots and shit like that. I don't feel like they're just going to get apathetic. I think they're going to get angry. This is just
I mean, that's not. I don't think that's necessarily true. If we look at like the 2016 Democratic election, we can see like a lot of the Bernie or busters got politically apathetic and they decided not to vote.
Well, that's what I'm trying to prevent them from doing now. If Bernie or busters wanted to get like, there's plenty of apathy and doomerism in the Bernie or when it comes to like Bernie or bust, and like a lot of Bernie supporters now because they've realized it's hopeless for Bernie now. But a lot of others are angry and want revolution. They're arguing for revolution, right? And I think that if we had that spirit being carried on to the general voting population of the Democrats, that would be big. That would be basically the only way that we. Nope, not if the Democratic Party ceases to represent the biggest issues that they all believe are the most important, right? Like, let's be honest, Joe Biden, at least publicly, believes in everything that most American Democrats are for, right? Like, he's loosely pro Roe versus Wade and like loosely pro abortion. I know he's had his sketchy shit in the past. Don't get me wrong. Nah, he is very wishy-washy about it, but it's enough that the Democratic voters are willing to vote for him. Clearly,
his history on it is clear. He's switched up recently his rhetoric.
Exactly, it's wishy-washy enough that American Democrats are willing to think, yeah, maybe he does believe it. It's better than a socialist like Bernie, right? Yeah, I don't know. I think that if it was discovered that the Democratic Party just didn't represent their views, they would probably abandon it. They'd feel too disenfranchised.
All right. Want to move on to the next point?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I believe it was hate crimes under Trump.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I may be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure we've like seen a record high in them.
I'm not too sure on the numbers. Wouldn't surprise me. But my arguments that I would make against this. Hold on. Let me find the sources real quick. Where's it at? Okay, here. So you're talking about how Trump has resulted in active antagonism towards marginalized people, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's engaged in it himself, and his fans and his voters have actively engaged in it and felt empowered by him as well.
Okay. Do you want to talk about specific communities in which like Trump has hurt, like the LGBTQ plus communities?
Yeah, we can go down the list if you want. Okay. We can start with trans people. I mean, he said that trans people were unfit to serve in the military in any capacity. That seemed like a big win for transphobes, saying that like even the graphics artists, the cooks, the janitors and stuff that had in the military, some of them probably being trans, would like are unfit mentally to fill those jobs. So you had like an entire group of trans people losing their jobs, having it taken away, and being deemed unfit to serve by the government. Donald Trump clearly holds disdain for trans people, and that's a big up for transphobes around the country that support him. There's also, I mean, him saying that most of the people coming from this isn't true, by the way, statistically. Trump likes to lie, saying that the people who are coming from Mexico are rapists and thieves and murderers, and some of them are good people. That empowered a lot of racist people that live that hate like Mexicans and stuff like that. There's a clip of him, a bunch of stuff in his lawyer. What was his name? Mueller, I think. What was his lawyer's name that ended up testifying against him?
I think it was Robert Mueller. Wow.
Yeah, Robert Mueller. During the testimony, Robert Mueller said him and Trump were in a limo and they were in a black neighborhood, and he was worried that and Trump said during his election he was worried that black people would be too stupid to vote for him. He thinks that black people are too stupid to realize that he's the best candidate. He was afraid they were too stupid to vote for him. Granted, that's coming from his lawyer who was testifying against him, but I still think that being out there and being something that or not Mueller. Wait, Mueller was a special prosecutor. I'm sorry. I mean, he was the one that investigated. I mean, Trump's old lawyer, the one who testified. Yeah, his old lawyer that testified against him. I'm sorry, I can't remember his name right off the top of my head. But yeah, apparently he had testified that in a car ride, through it like a black neighborhood, Trump had said that black people are like dirty and blah blah blah, and they're too stupid to vote for him, and that he was worried because of that. What else? What else has Trump said? Against disabled people. That one reporter who was like, "This is an old one. This is an old meme from 2016," where he's like, "Oh, I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know," like making fun of the disabled reporter guy that was questioning him. I don't know. I mean, there's like a whole list of like marginalized groups that Trump has like shown active disdain for and active antagonism towards, and it seems like his fan base has become even more empowered by that.
All right. So I'll start the first point on this. So on the trans military ban, you are you aware of Joe Biden's vote in 1993? He voted for policy that basically said that gay people can't be in the military. Correct?
He went for the yep.
So the don't ask, don't tell. But before the don't ask, don't tell got watered down into the don't ask, don't tell, right? Well, wouldn't you agree that's essentially equivalent to the trans military ban? Like Joe Biden literally. No. How is it not?
Because Joe Biden didn't say gay people are mentally unfit to serve in any capacity in the military. He didn't say that, and he doesn't mean? And he doesn't have an entire fan base of homophobes that are like looking to him for like empowerment to go out and like attack gay people and spread homophobic rhetoric.
How does that not have the same effect when it's banning gay people
more
from
against
the
black
military?
people? Hold on, I have another example of Trump being racist towards black people when he said that the Central Park Five should get the death penalty when they've all been exonerated and all the evidence has showed that they are innocent, and he said they should all get the death penalty. So that's just one against black people. Sorry. So with Biden, he hasn't said that gay people are unfit to serve in any capacity in the military. He doesn't have a fan base of people who are frothing at the mouth for any validation to feel empowered to attack gay people. There just isn't what's happening there. What he has is a base of people that have lukewarm acceptance of gay people and would probably not be too thrilled with him like being anti-LGBT publicly.
How do policies like this not have the same effect essentially?
Because the effects of someone. So the issue is you have to look past policy as well. Like obviously Trump. I mean, trans people aren't allowed to serve in the military, right? He did the policy, but you also have to look past just the policy and look also at the effects outside of that, right? Trump being president goes beyond the policy. There's also the symbol of Trump's presidency, right? We've talked about how his supporters and people who are homophobic, racist, all those things in the country feel empowered by his rhetoric and by his beliefs and what he says. You have to look at that as well. I guarantee there are trans women who have been murdered by transphobes who felt empowered by Trump saying that they're unfit to serve because people think they're mentally ill, right? This just isn't something that would happen under Biden, I don't think.
Wow. The question is, why wouldn't the policy or the defense of the policy result in that same empowerment? Like when you see bills passed that are blatantly homophobic, why wouldn't you be empowered by that if you're homophobic? Because
homophobes aren't going to look at something Biden said back in the fucking 80s or
90s. It's not what he said. He did it. He voted for the bill.
They're not going to look at what he said or did in the 80s or 90s and be like, yeah, Biden's our fucking guy. They're going to look at Trump and say, yeah, Trump is our guy, because Trump isn't afraid to say it, at least. And Biden has changed, even if it's wishy-washy, has changed a lot of his positions more recently to try to get more center-left support.
I mean, that's fair, but we can see that through his past, he's been pretty homophobic with the.
Oh yeah, we actually saw that. We actually saw this. As a matter of fact, I can give a real life example of this. How we know this wouldn't happen. Obama was like the fucking deporter guy. He was the deporter in chief. He deported a ton of fucking brown people. But guess what? You didn't have racists rallying behind Obama saying, "Yeah, Obama's getting those fucking B words, those B slurs out of America," right? You didn't see that because Obama was a fucking Democrat who appealed to a Democratic voter base.
Don't you think that's because Obama's black?
Yeah, maybe, but it's also because he has a Democratic voter base, and his fan base were people who weren't racist.
I think it's more likely that it's probably because it's black, because I don't know if you saw Richard Spencer's tweet about Michael Bloomberg or not, but Richard Spencer said that nationalists or whatever should actually be supporting Michael Bloomberg. He went through his history with like the stop and frisk and all of those reasons, so I don't think it's necessarily just because people like Biden associate themselves with the Democrats, I think they also care about the policies as well.
Maybe, but well, of course they care about policy, but when it comes to getting behind their guy, they're going to get behind Trump, who supports their policy and is willing to say it and just come out. And that's what you see from these Trump supporters. Yeah, Trump, he says it how it is. He's not afraid to speak the truth. He says it how it is. Biden's a doddering old fool. Even if he does support the policies they do, they see him as weak, and they call him fucking dementia Biden. The same people that you claim would be like empowered by him. Like I don't see that happening.
I mean, even if they call him that, like, you can't, like, there's no way that those people would not write off as a win, like, a vote for the Defense of Marriage Act or a vote to ban all gay people from the military.
If Biden did that?
Yeah, I mean, he has done it in the past.
I mean,
like, I'm saying there's no way those people wouldn't feel empowered by that. Like, when they see the policy being passed that reflects their ideology.
Maybe, but
I don't think
Trump
they really care
has.
who is doing it.
The issue is here is that Trump has and 100% will continue to do things like that. Biden hasn't, has in the past, but might do it in the future. And even if he does do it, it probably won't have the same harmful or as extreme of a harmful outcome as when Trump does it. And if anything, any of these things, if Biden does it, it'll have a harmful impact on the DNC, which will force the DNC to either move further left and endorse people like Bernie and AOC in the future, so we have more progressive candidates running for president, or cause a splinter, which will result in a whole new political party being created that's further left. Which, to be honest, most of the American people would probably, the Democrat or left-leaning American people would probably move to, because they don't see their opinions and their ideals being reflected by the Democratic Party anymore. The Democratic Party would probably become the center party. The Republican Party would be the right party, and whatever new party would be created would be the left party.
So, on that front, earlier you said that the DNC was doing like jobs to cover up the Tara Reade allegation, right?
Yeah, they've been doing a pretty good job of keeping it covered up, or saying, oh, she's a Russian asset because she wrote like an essay like 10 years ago about how she likes Russia or something, but yeah.
Yeah, why don't you think the DNC would try to do that if like Biden did something like this to try and prevent people from switching to a different party? Why don't you think that they would like go full on with like a narrative like in the mainstream, preventing people from trying to jump ship?
Like that they wouldn't do that?
Yeah, why wouldn't they do that? Like, we've seen them do stuff like that all the time.
Because I think there's a big difference between, like, a rape allegation from somebody coming out towards a presidential candidate and the president appointing a court justice that then goes to repeal Roe versus Wade or do any of the things that we've listed that Trump would probably do and Biden might do. There's a big difference there.
I mean, the DNC's been covering his past on abortion issues, so I don't.
Well, they've been covering his past, and he's been saying like all wishy-washy. He's like, yeah, no, I don't believe those things anymore. Opinions change, and people are like, okay, yeah, he's the Obama guy. We want to go back to the Obama days. We want to return to normalcy. If he ends up being just like as terrible as Trump, or even more so, that's going to piss them off, and they're going to lose trust in the DNC, and they're going to move, or they're going to want either a further left party, or the DNC is going to be forced to move further left.
I feel like I don't know how necessarily true that is. Like, I don't know how much that holds up to reality.
I mean, I've pointed out the evidence in the past. I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean,
what evidence did you give on that?
That there's a 100% chance that Trump will do these things you've talked about. You know, like banning trans people from the military, right? All these different things we've talked about. But there's a chance Biden will. A chance. There's a 100% chance Trump will, a non 100% chance Biden will. That is by definition harm reduction.
No, but I'm talking about like specifically like what evidence did you give for like people shifting to like a further left party or shifting the DNC further left?
Yeah, give me a second. Someone just said, oh no, okay, it was an April Fool's thing. Okay. Yeah, no, because I mean, if you look at any civil rights movement in America, when you see a group of people who are disenfranchised and feel like their rights or their best interests aren't being supported, they usually get they don't get apathetic, they get angry, they act out, they riot, they march, they even form entire political parties, right? We saw this with the civil rights movement with Black people. We saw this with the suffrage movement with women to get the right to vote, right? Like this has just been what happens in the past.
Yeah, but this
is party. There were no like overwhelming parties that were supporting the right for women to vote. There was just protesters protesting, and then eventually it just became such a popular idea that the politicians that are being voted into power felt the need to support these ideas if they wanted to continue to gain power, right?
Yeah, but we're talking about abortion in America, like one of the most misogynist.
Yeah,
just,
but
like, it
you gotta
doesn't
be
seem
honest.
like
But we're not talking about the general American population. We're talking about the Democratic voter base in America, which is
Yeah,
the
but still, like, do you
left-leaning
think
voter
like the
base.
white working class people of like the Democratic or white working men, people of the Democratic Party are actually going to be so upset that abortion got repealed that they're going to be willing to protest and willing to like shift further left because of it?
I mean, they
doesn't seem
support it,
likely.
and if they support it, and if the DNC nominated somebody who doesn't, and that's an ideal that they care about, which it seems like if you show the stats, I think it's like what 85% of Democrats, like even more, believe in abortion rights. They're pro-choice. Like I feel like that'd be a pretty big deal.
For the people that it doesn't necessarily affect, I don't think that they'd be.
I feel like it's a pretty well. A lot of people care about issues that don't affect them, right? Fucking transphobia doesn't affect me. I'm not affected by it, but I still fight for trans rights, right? You know, I feel like most people.
We're talking about
a fair
the
amount of
everyday.
empathy.
We're talking about the
I feel
everyday
like,
Democrat.
Yeah,
though.
sure. I feel like even the everyday Democrat probably has enough empathy to realize that if the party that they're supporting stops representing their ideals, they're not going to support that party anymore, which is going to be a predicament for the DNC.
Yeah, but there's many ways that could play out. I don't know if I'd be necessarily comfortable in this
I mean,
idea
either
that we
way,
can hedge all our bets that it lead to it.
Well, either way, we're going like
left in America.
Sure. Either way, we're going like really far down this road where we don't even have to. Biden, it's a non 100% chance. For Trump, it is a 100% chance. That is harm reduction. That's what I argue for.
No, that's not necessarily harm reduction. Not that it's a non 100% chance. It's a question of whether he does or doesn't.
Well,
if he doesn't, then that's harm reduction.
Chance Trump does. So there's a 100% chance. There's 100% chance that Trump does, and a non 100% chance that Biden does. And so, if Biden doesn't, which seems to be a possibility that does not exist under Trump, things will be marginally better for a lot of groups of people that are marginalized in this country, which means they get to be in a more comfortable position while we work our way up to revolution, which will happen inevitably as capitalism continues to deteriorate and conditions get to the point where the American population, or just the world's population in general, is pushed to realize capitalism is bad, and they gain class consciousness, and they realize it's either socialism or barbarism.
Yeah, I mean that's all dependent on the fact that, again, Biden doesn't. So, I mean, there'd only be one way to find out. Okay, so the next point you made was that Trump's comments on people coming from Mexico. And my answers to that is just, first of all, Joe Biden voted for the Secure Defense Act. I'm sure you know about that. The voting for to fund several miles of fence along the border.
I know about the border fence. I know, but what hasn't happened is like a bunch of fucking racists seeing Biden do that and being like, "Yeah, our guy."
I mean, they might not like right out be open and say that, but any policy that reflects their ideals, but they still see it as a win when they see policies reflecting their ideology.
We're starting to see a pattern here, right? So yes, in the past, Biden did support that. Biden was a Republican basically in the past. He's a conservative, right? However, there are a lot of pressures for him to maintain some sort of a nearer progressivism, to at least toe the line a little bit, right? He's going to be the Obama guy. Things under him are going to be basically how they were under Obama. They're going to go back to what was the status quo, okay? And the status quo, as shitty as it is for a lot of people, is better than how it is under Trump. That is my overall argument. We're going to keep going through the list of like, yeah, but Biden said this in the past, so there's a chance he'll do this now.
Well, it's not just that he said it.
He did this in the past, so there's a chance he'll do it now. But yeah, Trump's going to do it 100%. And then also in doing that, he's going to empower the people that think that way. They're going to see that as a win. And he's also going to continue to bring the Republican Party closer together and make it stronger, which means the Democratic Party will never be able to beat them. And you're like, yeah, but there's a chance Biden might do it because he's done that in the past. I'm like, okay, but harm reduction. It's
Well,
going to be the
it's
same
not
line of
harm
logic
reduction
every
because there's a
single
lesser
argument.
chance. It's harm reduction if Biden actually doesn't do it. That's the only way in which it's harm reduction.
But if there's a lesser chance, you're voting for harm reduction.
Unless they can lead to possibly the same outcome. Because then if he does do these things and it's equivalent, then it's not harm reduction because he did them as well.
Okay. Do you think that if holy shit. All right, let's say that oh god. So let's say you have two neighborhoods, right? I'm going to use this example. It's similar to the one I used in my video, but just bear with me here. You have two neighborhoods, okay? And in one neighborhood, there is a burning house. In the other neighborhood, there's a burning house. In one neighborhood, you have 10 people in a house that is burning. In the other neighborhood, you have 5. In the neighborhood where you have 5 people that are burning, you have a fire hydrant that when you turn it on and you try to connect a hose to it to put out the fire, will 100% not put out any water whatsoever. And then in the other fire hydrant in the house with the house that has 10 people burning in it, there is a, let's say, 20% chance, 25% chance. We'll be really generous with your idea that Biden would go against Roe v. Wade or something. There's a 25% chance that water will come out of that hydrant and you'll be able to put out the house with 10 people in it. Do you think it is harm reduction to go to the house that has the fire hydrant outside that will have a 25% chance of putting water out of it instead of 0% chance, and to try to put out the house with 10 people burning in it instead of 5? Like, I know it's not the perfect analogy, but it's basically line of argumentation here. It is harm reduction.
I have a counter question. If someone walks up to me and says that if I don't punch 5 people, they'll punch 10 people, am I morally obligated to go punch those 5 people so that person doesn't go punch the other 10?
Probably if you're a consequentialist and what you care about is less people getting punched.
Why would I don't think that's how we should dictate our morals, right? We should probably dictate them as principles.
Then you just disagree philosophically. Like, if I don't know, like, would you rather have to shoot 5 babies or someone else shoot 10 babies? Like, I mean, if you want less babies dead, you would shoot the 5 babies.
Well, the argument that I'm trying to pose here is that the moral weight of the other person's action doesn't fall on me.
Actually,
it falls on them.
If you want to bring up that analogy, the better analogy would be there is a 50% chance that if you punch somebody, try to punch 5 people instead of the other guy punching 10, instead your fist would actually phase through the guy and they wouldn't actually get punched, and then you wouldn't have to punch anybody else. We're using like a perfect analogy here because Biden. There is a pretty good chance under Biden that he wouldn't go and do all that shit that Trump will 100% do. Like, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I prefer the chances under Biden than I do under Trump because our chances under Trump are 0.
Potentially,
our chances
but
under
the
Biden
question
are not 0.
But the thing is like, even if you're saying that it's for harm reduction, but you're still admitting that there's going to be oppression, why engage in this line of thought in which we have to legitimize the oppression either this person or under this person? Either way, that puts us in this area in which that we have to be okay with this perpetual oppression that's done against certain people, and there's just nothing we can do about it.
But nobody is okay with it. You can still fucking engage in direct action and protest and praxis as much as you like outside of electoral politics. But while we're dealing with electoral politics, we have to make the system as decent to live in as possible for certain groups of people.
But you understand that comes with the legitimization of those. Because you're saying
Can you repeat that?
That comes with the legitimization of the oppression.
No one is legitimizing the oppression if you're still arguing against it and engaging in direct action.
It necessarily does because you're rewarding that person with your ballot either way. Even if they do bad things, even if you acknowledge that they are an oppressor when it comes to certain things.
You aren't Joe Biden. You're not Joe Biden. You're electing the person who has the highest chance of making conditions less bad and making oppression a little less bad than the other guy. And then in the meantime, lobbying probably isn't the best word, advocating for and engaging in direct action and for that oppression to end. All you're doing is pragmatically trying to make it so there's less suffering in the meantime for certain groups of people.
Ballots don't display the same nuance as you. They're ideological endorsements of the candidate that they're signed for.
I feel like I'm talking to a brick wall right now.
I'm flattered.
Okay, can you repeat what you just said?
I said that ballots don't have the same nuance as you. They're ideological endorsements
It
of the
doesn't
candidate.
matter. It doesn't matter. What matters is the fact that if we elect somebody who has a lower chance of making things as miserable for minorities in this country than the other guy, that is a good thing. And then after things are a little more comfortable for those minorities in this country under that guy, which there's a higher chance of, you go on to engage in direct action and praxis and theory and advocation to make things better and maybe build up to revolution one day. Under our economic system, or not under our current electoral system, all we can do is try to make things as comfortable for these groups as possible until fucking revolution. That's all we can do. I don't know what to tell you. It's harm reduction. I guess like maybe you don't care about brown people or something. I don't know.
No, that's not it.
I'm sorry. I was being a little facetious there. I know you care about brown people, but holy shit, is it so difficult when I feel like when I deal with Bernie or Busters who are like it's so difficult for them to just bite their fucking tongue and vote for harm reduction and just try to make things a little better for minorities in this country until revolution. It's like dealing with fucking class reductionists.
The
They
thing
all they care
is,
about is class.
I disagree with the argument there that it does lead to substantial harm reduction, and I think that there's much more harm.
It doesn't matter if it's substantial. If it is harm reduction, even if it is just... That's basically the question. Next identified. Thank you. The $2. Yeah. Would you prefer a 100% chance of failure or a non 100% chance of failure? That's basically what we're arguing for here.
Not necessarily. There's reasons why I don't think that's
under Trump. We are empowering and giving power to a literal fascist if we do not vote against the other guy. He is a literal fascist that brings other fascists in this country together, empowers them, will inevitably vote and use his power to take away rights from minority groups, which he has already done already. Under Biden, we have a guy who has a sketchy past and a chance of doing something similar, but probably not to the same degree and probably not empowering fascists in this country in the same way that Trump does. It is by definition harm reduction. I care about harm reduction. I care about revolution. I care about praxis. I care about advocacy. And I care about direct action, all that shit. However, we need to make things as livable as possible for minorities while we gain class consciousness and move towards revolution. I don't like to see trans women getting murdered and being able to use the trans panic defense, which thankfully I believe is gone now. I'm not 100% sure on that. I don't like to see trans people are getting murdered and their murderers getting off on it being like a misdemeanor or whatever it was. It was like a misdemeanor or something. Is it what you could get off with that? Like, I'm sorry, but I want to see things better for minorities in the meantime until revolution.
So, if I recall correctly, if I remember right, I'm not sure if you have, but I think so. You have said before that it was the Obama administration, his status quo presidency, his return to normalcy, that bred the conditions for Trump, correct?
In a way, I think a lot of what happened was that a lot of I know the argument we're about to go through here, so I already have a debate to that, but yeah, I think a lot of what happened was that Obama like really pissed off a lot of like the racist voters in this country, and we saw like a lot of conservatives and racists like see that Trump was like they saw him as like their way of getting back at the Democrats and the black people and everything for Obama.
Okay, and you don't think that it had anything to do with just the like maintaining the status quo for so long? Workers obviously got pissed and they wanted change, so they shifted to someone like Trump who capitalized on their racial anxieties and economic anxieties, right?
I don't think that most workers moved to Trump because they felt Obama was too status quo. I feel like Trump had like insane voter turnout. I feel like what happened was racist voters who felt that their opinions weren't being represented by anybody in politics. Trump was able to bring them out to actually vote. He had insanely high voter turnout.
Okay, and so if you're claiming that Biden would be better than Trump on these issues of race and all those such, why don't you think that would breed the same grounds for it to happen in either probably 4 years, because I don't think I could see Biden winning 2 terms.
Overwhelmingly, usually presidents win their second term.
But when you have to,
you
have to look specifically at Biden.
It's the fact that a lot of boomers die, though, especially with COVID. You know, the boomer remover will hopefully do its job.
Oh my god! In a video game.
in Minecraft, in Plague Inc. In Plague Inc. You're probably going to see a massive drop in the population of racist Republican boomers over the next 4 years, even 8 years, especially. And so, and with more progressive generations of people, you're just going to see people who are like never Republican, right? And would never vote Republican. Yeah, I don't see that as being plausible as things just become more progressive and the Republican Party moves further right and the Democratic Party, as the voter base moves further left, are forced to move further left. I mean, the Bernie bros are overwhelmingly young people. What happens when those people are millennials and their or like millennial age, like in their 30s, and then those people have had kids and their generation is getting to voting age, and they're all like even more progressive than that. The DNC has to move left or they're done. This is just going to happen with time as things get more progressive, more people like me that advocate for progressive ideology gain power and spread their ideas. All we can do in the meantime is try to make things as comfortable as possible for minorities while we move in that direction. And Biden is a higher and Biden being president is a higher chance for that than under Trump. Accelerationism is a good strategy. No, it's not. You're stupid.
I don't necessarily agree with most of the stuff accelerationists say. I don't think they're right when it comes to the issues that making the problem worse would result in revolution quicker.
It won't. People, the average person is like, maybe actually it could. I don't know. It's a discussion we can have.
No, I don't think it does. Just because people are aware of the problem more, and it's easier to identify.
It has to affect them, right? It has to affect their. They have to see their morals not met, or their ideas and what they want to see in society met, right? Most centrists will rally with fascists when it comes around to it, but I think American liberals and people on the left that aren't centrists, if they see a fascist in power, they see someone who's supposed to represent them doing shit that a fascist would do, they're going to get angry. I don't know. Acceleration is wisdom.
So, I guess, do you want to assume where we left off?
Yeah, go on.
All right, so you said the next thing that we were... to finish off the comments on the Trump's Mexico comments, also, again, Biden was president or vice president of the deporter-in-chief. Obama deported over 3 million people, which I believe is...
Yep.
I believe is it currently 2.1 million more than Trump has, but obviously Trump is still on term 1, so... Yeah, but if we're saying that Biden is going to return to an Obama presidency, then it would not
be... Things will be pretty bad, but not as bad as under Trump.
Well, the amount of people that Obama deported is way more than Trump has so far, over double.
So, like you said before, Trump's in his first term, and not only that, but we do have a Democrat... Thank you, Yeet, for the $1. I appreciate it, buddy. I don't think when I say go back to the Obama times, I mean it's going to be status quo, not he's going to deport as many people as Obama did.
I mean, there's definitely the potential too. I mean, he didn't say anything about it back then, voted for the Secure Defense Act. It would seem like he would be highly plausible too. You wouldn't expect Obama to do it, but he did it too. And on your comments that Trump is still in his first term, yes, he is. However, he deported more than double, meaning that Trump is not on track to supersede Obama in deportations.
I'm pretty sure he might. It doesn't really matter, though. I mean, like, either way.
Well, those are people that we're talking about.
Sure, yes. And deportations are one thing. When you consider every single other issue, even if Biden deported twice as many people, like, you have to consider every other issue that we've talked about tonight. Biden is just, under every single circumstance, going to be harm reduction over Trump. He's better than Trump.
Well, not every
not
single
as bad as Trump.
We just talked about
Trump is a fat... Okay. We don't need... Okay, fine. But either way, Trump is a fascist. Biden is probably not a fascist, or at least not as much of a fascist as Trump. He's not as bad as Trump. That has been the entire crux of my argument. I don't know why you want me to defend Biden so much, but I'm telling you right now, he's just not as bad as Trump.
Is a defense of Biden against Trump.
It's just he's bad, but he's not as bad as Trump.
And that's just where our disagreement is. Okay, so the next thing that you said...
So in a way you're defending Trump right now, right?
No, I say that they're equivalent and they're both bad.
So you think Biden and Trump are equivalent?
essentially, on a principle level.
Okay.
I mean, if we look at everything that you brought up, there's been, on a principle, Biden has violated as well. If you err to the side of harm reduction, you could debate that. But everything that you're talking about and why it's bad, and Trump's done it, I've given you instances of where Biden has done it as well, or a form of it.
I need to bring. Sioak Attack is saying very stupid things in chat, so I'm bringing on him next to talk about this. But no, what I like, I've told his policies currently are not as bad as Trump's, even if his current past policies are bad. Trump 100% will do these bad things. Biden might. There's a chance he might do it. I prefer a possible chance, like a non-0% chance of us succeeding over a 0% chance. I don't know what to tell you.
Okay. And just, I suppose to clarify, while I am trying to debate you on the question of whether Biden will lead to more harm reduction or not, the reason why I don't prefer Biden over Trump is because I don't look specifically to harm reduction, because I think the idea of harm reduction is like, it's not what is moral in my
okay, so that's where the root of the discussion is. Okay.
No. I'm saying
All right.
I'm saying I'm
Why
trying to
don't you
debate
like
you on
it-
harm reduction. I'm saying the reason why I wouldn't say that harm reduction is what, like, it doesn't dictate what we should do as moral, because it is what legitimizes us doing some bad things either way. However, if you
Nope.
take it, yes, it does.
I
Because
highly disagree with this.
you're literally saying that Biden is bad for certain reasons, but you're still going to vote for him. That
bad, but
legitimizes
he's
the
not
bad
as
thing.
bad as the other option. When you
Exactly,
have two
but that
options,
still legitimizes
only
it.
two options. You're doing right now. What you're essentially doing is the white moderate thing, right? Well, not even
No.
the white moderate thing. It's like effectively it is the white moderate thing, because you're saying that
Not
things
at all.
like, hey, we just gotta wait. We just gotta let Trump get reelected, and then we wait. Maybe people get more radical.
That's not what
trans
I'm saying.
people, black people, any group like minority group can wait a little longer for rights. They can continue to get shit on by fascists and whatnot, and being attacked, right? That'll happen with time. We just gotta wait for we gotta let Trump get reelected. Vote for don't vote or vote for a third party, which is essentially voting for Trump. Let Trump get reelected. And just move on there. Xander is being white moderate. Okay, you're banned, Stan G.
No, I would disagree. I would say that neither of
Oh, yeah,
us
Cindy,
are.
ban Stan G. Either debate me or you're getting banned. If you call me white moderate, because you are by definition being white moderate here.
I would say
there's
that,
a lot of fucking. Oh my god! Please unsub from me and leave my channel if you think that like this is white moderate shit. If you're genuinely like Bernie or bust and you think that like or Biden is as bad as Trump and you're not going to vote, leave my channel, please. Just fucking go.
I would say neither of us are white moderates. Anyways, what I'm saying more so is that the harm reduction, it necessitates the legitimization or the idea that we have to choose one bad over the other bad, because this bad is worse.
So you're like Geralt of Rivia? If I have to evil is evil. If I have to choose between one evil, I prefer not to choose at all. Is that basically what you're doing?
Yeah, it's similar, because the way in which we form our morals are via ideal standards.
Okay, I'm sorry. I care about I'm sorry. I care about pragmatism and consequentialism.
Okay, if you're utilitarianist, that's your
That's
entire
what
thing.
I mean. I care about the I care about the actual material outcomes of actions. That's what I care about.
Yeah, that's why we need to form ideal standards in which we need to strive for in order to
that sounds nice, but all that's going to result in is Trump getting reelected and then like minorities suffering for another 4 years at least.
Well, I mean, that would happen under Biden as well. You agree to that?
No, I didn't. I said there's a possibility that is lesser than under Trump. Under Trump, it's 100% chance. Under Biden, it's not.
You still say that it'll exist among certain people.
Some of them will. Some of those things, not to as big of a degree as they would under Trump, who is a fascist.
Okay, I know. I'm not. Even if that's true, I still don't think.
So what hurts more? What's worse, stubbing your toe or having your leg chopped off? They're both actively fucking terrible, right? They're both getting hurt. But one is lesser than the other.
Exactly. Yeah, right. You'd rather stub your toe if you had to choose between the two, but if you didn't want to feel pain, then you would say that you wouldn't want to feel either.
but you have no other choice. Either you
You
get
do
your
have a
leg cut
choice
off
in
or you stub your
this.
toe.
Well, in this
'cause
instance, you have the choice of
are you
abstaining.
well for you? You're white. Are you white?
Yes.
Are you straight?
Debatable.
Are you cis?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm.
Are you like middle class?
I would say no. I'm pretty poor.
Okay. You mostly fall into some pretty privileged categories. Trump's rhetoric, Trump's policies aren't going to affect you as much as they would like a black person or a gay person or a trans person or a woman or anything like that. You are mostly fine. For you, you're like, yeah, you get to sit back and not vote and feel like you don't have to choose. But for minorities in this country, it's fucking life or death for a lot of them, whether or not Trump gets reelected.
I mean, but at the point
They
where
don't get to
we're both
I'm sorry.
agreeing that
I'm sorry,
Biden
but
is
it is
going to
life or
oppress
death
people
for them,
too.
and they have a better chance. They have a better chance under Biden than they do under Trump. It's life or death for many of them. Like, because you're in such a position of privilege where you get to feel like you can just sit this election out and you're not affected by it. You're just not affected by it. You have the privilege of not being affected by electoral politics as much as someone who's black or trans or gay or anything like that, right? You have the privilege that you are able to take this position. Many people don't have that privilege, and so they don't have that position. I'm sorry, but you're like throwing that like all these minorities under the bus.
I disagree. I think that I've said this before. I haven't really gotten an answer to it. How is it not throwing under the bus these minorities when you legitimize this idea that we have to allow for the oppression of certain minorities in order to like result in like somehow more alleviation? How does that not perpetuate this idea and lead to more oppression because you are making it perpetual in the sense that you're saying that we are morally obligated to vote for this oppressor, and you acknowledge that he's an oppressor.
How can you say, hey, how can you say you're against people feeling pain when you would rather have your stub your toe than have your leg cut off? In both cases, you're feeling pain, so you're justifying feeling the pain of your toe being
That has
stubbed.
nothing to
There's
do with
going
the
to be
election,
a
though.
president.
You can abstain.
One of them will be president.
And
one
you
is
can
worse,
abstain.
the other is better. You want to go for the one that is better. Yes, you can abstain, and you're just throwing all these groups under the bus because you're going to allow the worst person to get elected.
Well, we
you
didn't
have the
even
privilege of abstaining.
we didn't.
You have the privilege of abstaining. A lot of people
I
don't.
didn't agree that
I'm
Biden
saying
was
that you,
even better.
as a leftist, there will be a president. It's either going to be Trump, who is a fascist, or Biden, who is marginally better. I don't know what to tell you. If you're privileged enough that you feel like your vote doesn't matter, you feel like you can sit out the election. You're privileged enough that it doesn't affect you.
You have more privilege than me. You have more money.
Yes, but I am still advocating for the people that don't have that privilege, and what you're doing is more detrimental to them. Well, no, at the moment you're not. You do, but when I say you're not advocating for their best interest right now.
Well,
I feel like I'm arguing like I feel like the line of logic that we're going down here right now is like when Destiny debated no bullshit on incest, where there's like a really logical line of like debate here. Trump is 100% going to be all of the bad things you've argued Biden possibly could be. I feel like there's a pretty like logical line of conclusion of there who we should probably try to support harm reduction in the meantime until we can get to revolution, which will happen eventually.
Well, there's also
the anxieties of capitalism, late stage capitalism will eventually die out. Capitalism will fucking collapse in on itself. The American people, the working class, will realize that capitalism is no longer able to allow them to survive anymore. They will become class conscious. We will gain enough support to have a revolution one day down the road. However, we need to make things somewhat fucking reasonable and livable for minorities in the meantime. It's gonna be a long ass fucking time.
Yeah, but I mean, as we've gotten over, I don't know if long-term, like, it's impossible to know if long-term calculation, what you're doing is actually, like, going to benefit the most people.
Okay. All I can say is I can look at we brought up the different examples. I brought up how, in the past when there weren't groups, like, there weren't political parties that, advocated for certain groups, those groups got together and they formed new parties. They did groundwork and direct action,
not
like
over
the civil rights movement and the suffrage movement.
Not over issues like abortion, though. Like one issues. Those were over issues of people like being discriminated based on their identity from like and them not being allowed to vote. Or
suffrage
things like
was over a single issue. So suffrage is a single issue. That's
the right
voting.
To vote.
Sure. I guess you could say that like when it comes to non-segregation, that's like a bunch of issues, but I feel like that's also a single issue. Abortion is absolutely a single issue that would radicalize a significant amount of people in this country. It's one of the most like hot button issues in the country. Not only that, but with climate change as well. We didn't even get into climate change.
Oh, we can talk about climate change.
100%. Biden is 100% more on board with fighting climate change than Trump is. Trump thinks it's a hoax.
The way he does it is horrible. The Sunrise Movement rated Biden F on climate change. He got a 75 out of 200.
But Trump is like a negative F.
That's not possible. Literally, Biden his campaign co-chair is actually the representative Cedric Richmond, who is he has one of the most pro-industry voting in history on fossil fuel issues.
And you know Trump fucking put a he defunded the EPA and then put a climate change denier at the front as the like head of the EPA.
Yeah, and Joe Biden's climate advisor is Heather Zekel, which is a former board member of natural gas company Cheniere Energy.
Okay, it's not as bad as putting an open climate change denier at the head of the EPA.
You're putting someone who's on board of natural gas companies. That obviously shows that they have a time.
So I'm going to ask you right now, would you rather have it be Trump then?
No, I don't want to engage in either of them, or with either of them. So
you're just privileged enough that it doesn't affect you, so you can just sit out.
I'm not.
Can you just admit that you're just privileged enough that you get to sit out and it doesn't matter for you?
No, I believe that we shouldn't legitimize oppression, whether it's more or less. I think that idealistically,
there's no middle ground. There's no middle ground. Either you are privileged enough not to engage in electoral politics, or you prefer Trump.
No, either or no. The ballot is an ideological endorsement of who you vote for. If that person...
No, it is not.
Yes,
no,
it
is not.
The ballot has no nuance.
No, it is not.
The ballot has no nuance.
Whether you have nuance or not. Nuance.
Exactly. That means that it's an entire endorsement of that candidate.
Your reasoning... Nope.
Yes.
Whoever you are voting for gets into power. It's as simple as that. Whether or not you endorse that candidate is whether or not you endorse that candidate.
Which your ballot does. It's an ideological endorsement of that candidate.
It can be if you ideologically endorse them.
However, it necessarily is. If you are voting for them, that is an endorsement.
Okay. All right. I endorse Biden over Trump. I endorse the person who probably might not be a fascist over the open fascist.
Trump's not very open about it.
Trump is very open about
his rhetoric. His rhetoric is he has open fascistic rhetoric.
Trump is literally known for killing the euphemism. He just says what he believes.
He has open
says
fascistic
that Mexicans
rhetoric.
Are rapists and murderers. He says trans people are unfit to serve. He says the things that he says fascist shit. He's just openly a fascist.
And Biden said stuff like this too. He banned gay people from the military because they're unfit to serve. He said that poor kids aren't as smart as white kids. I wonder what that's supposed to mean. Like, he's open with his rhetoric as well. It's fascistic rhetoric. That doesn't mean that they're open about being fascist themselves.
You do realize this is what people did in 2016 with like Butt Hillary, like whenever they would defend Trump, right? This is the same line of argumentation. You're doing it right now.
I'm not familiar.
Okay. Man, I mean, you're just doing it right now. I'm arguing that Trump is worse than Biden. You're saying, yeah, but Biden did bad things too. And I'm like, yeah, but the things Trump does are worse than what Biden does.
No, but most of the things I've talked to you about are on principle the same form of violence or poor rhetoric as Trump.
But there is a chance under Biden, a small chance under Biden, and a 100% chance under Trump.
Yeah, but there's also several different occasions that could come out if Biden actually did it. That would be poor for the Democratic Party, or would be poor.
Do you want the Democratic Party to be hurt? That moves the American left further left. It makes it more radical. That's our goal. That's how we get revolution.
I would prefer if the Democratic Party shifts left. It shifts left. If it becomes split, or people become politically apathetic because people like Joe Biden aren't representing their ideals and they actually go in and do material harm when they're in office, that's going to alienate people. That's going to make them not want to participate in politics. That's going to make them want to go to a different party. They might even go to the Republican Party. Like, it wouldn't end well for the Democratic establishment.
Wait, who is going to be like, oh, the DNC doesn't support abortion anymore, I'm going to go become a Republican now? Do you think it's actually going to happen? Do you think it's realistic?
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if the Democratic Party is seen as not representing their ideals or being the working class party anymore, people will realign themselves to the Republican Party. Especially if they're like white working class workers.
The Republican Party is even further from being the working class party. They openly engage in lobbying with and proudly with lobbying
Well,
things like the NRA.
They are,
and lobbyists and stuff like that.
Well, okay. First of all, a lot of working class people like their guns, so. But they capitalize on the racial anxieties of the working class people.
Would you see it as a positive? Would you see it as a positive if Trump became president over Biden?
No, I don't think it's a positive. Like I don't think it's necessarily a positive. What I'm saying is that on a principle level, they're both equivalent.
Okay, so I'm going to end the conversation here. Just going in circles. What I'm taking away from this is just you are in a position where you are privileged enough to see electoral politics as like a sports game, right? Where you're just like, oh, I see them both as being just as bad. I don't really care. And then moving away from electoral politics. You really just don't seem to care because you're privileged enough that it doesn't affect you.
No, I still think you should engage in electoral politics, especially locally, if like the people are actually better on
principle. But you're advocating for you're either leaving your ballot blank or not voting. You're advocating for sitting out of the presidential election.
Yeah, because I don't ideologically endorse either of the candidates. I don't think most people do.
Yeah, but if you say you're a black person and you don't want the president to be a guy who said the Central Park Five deserved to get the fucking death penalty, a group of 5 black guys who were exonerated by the court, and the president thinks that they should be fucking killed, or you're a trans person who you don't want the president to be somebody who said, I think that trans people are unfit to serve, and then took away all their fucking jobs. That's what happened, by the way. They all got fucking fired. I don't know. I just feel like that. I just feel like you're in a really privileged place, and so you feel like you just have the opportunity to sit out of it. It doesn't really affect you. So you're just sit out of it.
Think about that more, though. You are saying like either a black person has to vote for the guy who called for the what was it? Sorry, I'm trying to think. Central Park 5. He called for the execution of all the kids or something along the lines of that. Yeah, the black people don't want to vote for that, but they also don't want to vote for someone who's using super predator rhetoric when they're talking about the crime bill, or talks about poor kids, quote unquote, not being as smart as white kids. Right? You have to choose between the lesser two evils. You're legitimizing that racism at that point. Because you're like, well, he is racist. We have to vote for the racist because he's less racist than the other racist. If he's being rewarded for being racist, but just less racist.
One of them is going to become president. One of them is going to become president either way.
And it's a question of if you endorse that.
No, I don't endorse it, but
that's what a vote is.
I want the least worst person to become president.
That's an endorsement.
Okay. All right. I think you're just you're just not willing to engage with the idea of harm reduction here. You don't really care about it.
I mean, I engage with you on the level of harm reduction. I tried to prove why it isn't.
You can't vote for no president, right? Like it's either Trump or Biden, right? And that
no, you don't
Trump
have to
is worse than Biden. Okay.
That's not what
you do. Really? Oh yeah, I forgot to mention. Yeah, Trump was endorsed by the Ku Klux Klan and all that. Yeah, that's a nice meme. Interesting how Biden's never been endorsed by them. Yeah. I don't know what to say, dude. I think.
He did work with a lot of segregationists, though.
I think Bernie or Busters are probably at this point, if they're really just either going to sit out of the election and allow Trump to get reelected, are probably about as bad as Trump supporters and as unforgivable as Trump supporters at this point. I think they're just incoherent.
As bad. How are they just as bad when they're not ideologically endorsing anything that Trump does? They're refraining from doing
because I care about pragmatism, I care about praxis, and I care about the outcomes of people's actions.
So do we. We're just saying that
just
it's
because
not
you have
praxis
good
to vote for a
intentions,
racist.
Just the road to hell is paved by good intentions, my friend.
I mean, we both have good intentions.
Hitler thought he had good intentions when he murdered millions and millions and millions of people. You think you have good intentions by allowing a fascist to go into power?
I mean, that's just we both would say that. I mean, Biden is still
not voting means you are letting Trump become president.
Okay, but it's not an ideological endorsement of Trump.
I don't give a shit about non-existent ideological endorsements of people. I care about the outcomes of people's actions.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I still engaged on that level with you on what Joe Biden has done compared to what Trump has done.
Okay.
I'm just saying
I'm not going to go back into the fact that there's a higher Trump will 100% do these things. Biden might do these things.
Yes, but it's still a question of how catastrophic it would be if Biden were to do them. The Democratic Party is not falling apart if Trump does them. If anything, they'd be more outraged and be mobilized to further left and further left issues, like we've seen with the rising popularity and populist rhetoric during the Democratic general, the rise of Bernie Sanders, the rise of the left-wing policies like Medicare for all, such and such, so on.
So you think it's more likely? Do you think it's more likely? I'm gonna have to fucking go off on you here. I'm sorry. Do you think it's more likely that if Biden gets elected and he ends up getting rid of Roe versus Wade and he does all these terrible things, that Democratic voters are gonna be like, okay, guess I'll become a Republican right now? Or do you think they're going to follow people who are more popular, like Bernie or AOC or something, while the DNC is forced to move further left? Which do you think is more likely? Do you think they're just going to become Republicans, or do you think they're going to go to a party that represents their ideals more, which would be whatever new party comes from the ashes of the DNC, or the DNC changing its positions, moving further left to represent the people that vote for them? What do you think is going to happen?
I think a good chunk of people would become more politically apathetic.
Okay, I mean, we just haven't seen that example when people aren't represented before. We've seen
in 2016,
movements,
though. Like, people decided not to vote in the general election because fucking Bernie got snubbed.
And Hillary still won the popular vote.
Yeah, but she didn't win the vote that matters in the states that had white working class people. The swing states.
But the issue was that there was like really,
Bernie
I guess there was. Okay, I don't know. To be completely real with you, all I'm arguing for right now is the fact that, because you've argued this yourself, haven't you? I've seen your Twitter account where you say that we need to radicalize the Democratic voter base to make them realize that the Democrats aren't representing their beliefs, and we need to make them more radical. You've argued this before on Twitter. I've seen it. I'm arguing that this is what will happen if Biden goes and does this shit. I don't know.
It's probably good to radicalize more individuals, but also it's probably not good to engage in the legitimization of oppression. So it comes at a cost. Always.
How is it legitimizing oppression if you're just voting for the lesser evil?
Because you're saying that even though this person is going to oppress people, they still deserve my endorsement of them. They're still going to be rewarded with my endorsement no matter what they do, as long as they're not as bad as the other guy over there.
I think that people would have still been oppressed under Bernie?
Oh, potentially, but he doesn't actively do it with his policy.
People. Nope. Hey. But guess what?
He doesn't actively do it with his policy.
People would have still been oppressed under Bernie.
But that's not the...
So you're legitimizing that oppression, I guess.
No. Because you admitted that Biden does it with policy. I'm not admitting that Bernie does it with policy. I haven't even admitted that. Biden's
180 on a lot of his policies. Even if it's wishy-washy, he's done it because he wants to...
Okay, what about his insurance plan that leaves... What about his insurance plan that leaves, I'm pretty sure, tens of thousands of people uncovered?
I'm pretty sure it's not the same as trying to kick trans people out of the military. I'm not saying Biden is
kicking
good.
Gay people out of the military.
What about? Well, don't ask, don't tell isn't necessarily kicking gay people out of the military.
No. It was before Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Don't Ask, Don't Tell got watered down into Don't Ask, Don't Tell. He voted to ban gay people from the military.
Nice. Trump actually did it.
Okay, yeah, and Biden did too, and except for the fact that it was ruled unconstitutional. No thanks to him.
Trump actually did it.
And Biden voted to actually do it as well. And he voted for the Defense of Marriage Act that banned gay marriage. Or tried to. It was also ruled unconstitutional.
Biden's 180 on this issue, and Trump actually did it.
Yeah. They both attempted
Biden.
So wait, if you're a consequentialist...
And Trump actually did it.
If you're a consequentialist...
trans people aren't allowed in the military, right? Are they?
If you're a consequentialist, wouldn't you still care about Biden's vote and the consequences that arise from that, even if it is in the past?
Yeah, I would. However, I'm talking about the present.
Well, it still has to do with his moral standing as a person, and a question of his integrity and whether or not you should endorse him with your vote.
I just don't see a vote as an endorsement in the same way as saying, yes, I endorse this person's ideas, because a vote is just a pragmatic support of the person who the only two options you have going to be in power. So you're like, fuck it, I'm going to do what I can to make the lesser evil be in power and hope or advocate for better ideas in the future. That's the most you can really do. I'm gonna be honest, I think you're just really fucking privileged and you're just able to sit out of electoral politics.
You can think that if you want, but again, we've gone over it. You're more privileged. Okay. Anyways,
I don't there's no point in continuing this. We fundamentally just the idea of like harm reduction and like what's best for the American people. Like I don't know. We have different goals at the end of the day.
I don't think our goals are, well, in this instance, our goals are different. Our end goal, I think, is very similar.
Maybe. I don't know. Like, I don't know what your end goal is. What is your end goal?
I mean, we're both leftists here. We're both anti-capitalist. Obviously,
Yeah?
some
Okay.
form
Maybe
of
our outcomes are different. Oh, yeah, maybe. I don't know. Like, my goal at the end of the day is, like, I'd like to see trans people be completely, like, enfranchised about at the same degree as, like I'd like to see at least as much as gay people are now. I mean, like, fuck, 30 years ago, gay people had it real fucking rough. We only just got gay marriage under Obama. You know, so like it would be nice to see trans people be about as enfranchised as gay people, at least by the time I die, maybe sooner. I mean, like I'd like to see a lot of the issues that we see today for a lot of minorities fixed by the mostly gone by the end of my lifetime. That'd be nice. But
yeah,
I mean, people
I
like
as
you that are
well.
willing to allow. But people like you that are willing to allow fascists into power
No,
just seem like
I
they're
think
really.
the way in which we solve for that is by straying or what's it called, striding towards these ideal standards that we set. We set standards.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
Right. So we set standards like a way in which we want to work towards. Right. For instance, you're talking about like trans liberation.
Well,
or LGBTQ plus liberation. If we set that as a standard, then we should do everything we can to stride towards that standard. And I don't
give me an example. How do you get like how do you get trans people to have equal rights? How do you achieve trans rights? Like pragmatically, how do you do that?
Via policy, I suppose, via direct action, stuff such as that.
Okay. What does direct action and what does that policy? Who decides that policy?
Direct action would be like doing tasks in your community in which would benefit trans people, or maybe like
what about policy?
Doing fundraisers,
what about
stuff
policy?
like that. What was the question on policy?
Who decides who when you try to advocate for policy and get policy change, which is at the end of the day what you have to do to try to enfranchise a group of people, who decides on that policy?
Representatives.
Okay, and who are those representatives?
The people who win their election.
All right. What if your representative is a fascist that hates trans people?
What if the other representative is a fascist that hates other people?
Then I guess fuck trans people. Then don't vote at all and let the worst fascists go into power.
I mean, should we play Oppression Olympics in which we have to choose which oppression we care more among certain people?
I would say that trans people as a whole are probably in a worse situation right now than black people in America, like as an example. I don't know if that's Oppression Olympics, but I feel like.
But if you take like an intersectional approach.
Well, I do take an intersectional approach.
I know
one that brought up Oppression Olympics and tried to go against intersectionality.
No, I'm not going against intersectionality.
No, well, I mean, in your example that you gave.
What example?
The example where you said, "Oh, so we're going to play Oppression Olympics and say, oh, so this oppression is worse than that oppression."
Yeah, I'm confused.
Xander would literally unironically support the Strasserists because Hitler is worse. If your options were either Hitler or the Strasserists, then I would choose the lesser evil. I'm sorry you're so retarded that you think that's like an actual ban Kira Husk. Hold on. Yeah, I'm fucking busting out the ableist slurs. Hold on, /ban Kira Husk.
Well. I assume there's nothing else you want to talk about. You got other people you should attend to. I'm glad we had the debate, the discussion. If anyone in my chat wants to go sub to Xanderhal, I would recommend going to check out their channel. I don't have any ill will towards them. Yeah.
All right, nice. We got any other fucking class reductionist cucks in chat that want to say some dumb shit and get banned?
Well, that was an event. I wasn't expecting that. I wouldn't say class reductionist. I would more so say holding people towards standards. It's probably not a good idea to be like, well, there's 12 people, or there's look at Trump, he has dozens of rape accusations, and then just go over there and look at Joe Biden and be like, well, he only has one, so I guess we don't care about that one person because the other person has 12. Let you in, boy? I wasn't. I loved it. Hello. Hear about that one person?
Hey.
How's it going?
Hey, how's it going, woman?
Oh
I'm
God,
holding up.
that was a shit show.
What's up,
Here's
no comment
my-
chick? Sorry guys, I wasn't reading chat. I will be reading chat now if you have anything to say.
It was mostly me and Pump. So yeah.
It was
Yeah,
just me and
we got 10 viewers right now, though. So that's
Yeah,
pretty
that's
cool. I'll probably make a response video to the actual video because I wasn't able to express everything.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Don't be
You did good,
surprised.
though.
Don't be surprised if
Especially like
he ends up blocking you on Twitter.
I don't think he will. I think we both got goodwill towards each other.
We'll see. He
especially
seems
in
to.
the end, you're doing pretty good. Outside.
Yeah. That ending though was like no like goodbye or anything like that. You said you like, hey, sub to Xander's Twitter, and Xander didn't even return the favor at all.
No, I mean, but that's completely fine because again, I was asking
It is.
Xander for Xander's time, and obviously Xander's
Yeah,
the creator.
yeah.
Anyway, so what do y'all have on the topic? I know you guys were interested.
Pump, you want to go first? Because I'm probably gonna go off for a good bit about it.
I'm gonna just screw around and say it. All his takes are indistinguishable from any other like neo-lit on Twitter who shills for Biden and just buys into the whole like Bernie bot thing. It's just frustrating. It's crazy how similar all those talking points were. It's just baffling to me. It's like there's like no nuance involved. It's like it's all just black and white to him. Like it's like you're either with us or against us, and it's like he doesn't understand like that the whole long term like prospect of doing this, like the like that by doing this we legitimize the system, and it's like, and he's like getting so angry about it, taking it so personally, and not just hearing him just go off and chat at people going at him like he was like so angry at it. He really lost his cool there, and I think he did a pretty good job. So
You know, it's understandable if he feels that passionate that he's doing the right thing. Then I would, if people were doing the opposite or going against that, I would understand why.
Him accusing you of that stuff, like being disingenuous, calling you privileged, those awful ad homs, man, that was just so unnecessary to me.
Yeah, I agree. However, I mean, I don't.
Of course, yeah.
No, I don't. It doesn't bother me.
Of course. You go, Mike. Go off.
So just off the front, I kind of have a more negative, but mostly based in passion, view and perspective of Xander, especially in regards to this stance. And one thing I noticed quite frequently, especially near the end of the debate as he was getting more heated, was a trend that I saw someone point out on Twitter regarding his behavior, where he likes to lump people in to like certain groups and phrases that he knows carries a level of weight within his community. And I think there's like something happening with the Bernie and bust phrase that he's using, which is why it kept coming up a lot, even though near the start you yourself admitted that it isn't really something you agree with as like a title, if I'm not correct.
Yeah, no, I said that because I don't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't consider myself Bernie or bust because if the person was, or the nomination was like Warren, I would vote Warren, but I just wouldn't vote for someone like Biden.
Biden is literally the worst one they could possibly choose.
Well, there's Bloomberg. Don't forget Bloomberg.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, there's definitely Bloomberg, and I really couldn't help but notice he got more heated into it. And they say the more passionate you get, the more honest you become as you speak. As he just kept going more into types of words and phrases almost as like a way of just like flinging shit, like hypothetical shit towards your name as a means of discrediting or
Mind
disparaging your positions.
Mind if I cut you off real quick, Michael? Someone asked me
Oh
to
yes,
explain how voting is an ideological endorsement, right? So the reason why I say that voting is an ideological endorsement is because voting, just like the ballot itself, displays no nuance whatsoever. No matter what you think of that candidate, no matter what you say, no matter if you're like, well, this candidate sucks, blah, 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 but I'm voting for him because this, the ballot doesn't care about that. The ballot is a vote for that candidate. The ballot doesn't have nuance. The ballot isn't, oh, I'm voting for this candidate because of X. I only support this candidate when it comes to X. No, the ballot wholeheartedly supports that candidate. Right?
yeah, I agree with you on that. That's the reason why people used after the election in 2016 about the whole popular vote stance, that more people voted for Hillary than for Trump. That in
Yeah,
other words, the general population believed and followed what Hillary represented, what Hillary standed over Trump.
yeah,
Even if Trump was the one that got the presidency, we still gave a level of power to the individual vote as a way of saying, oh, the majority of Americans are supportive of that view.
exactly.
Yeah. In regards to harm reduction, as Xander puts it, now that you get the opportunity, because Pump, as if you go through your chat, you'll see Pump expressing a lot that Xander was cutting you off or interrupting you. Do you want to
Yeah.
like give, now that you have the chance to freely speak, do you want to like give your position or perspective in regards to harm reduction in this case, with
Um,
the case between in regards to the election? I'm not going to like give a proper framing. I'm going to allow you to get some room to wiggle around in there. So
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, so on most of the issues, if we're just talking about solely as harm reduction and not as principles, it seems that like Biden has shown that when he was most comprehensive, that some of the issues that Trump aligns himself with, Biden aligned himself to with too as well. Like we can see this with several of their Biden's policies. A lot of his rhetoric. It's hard for me to name it all of them, but if you named like a specific issue in which Trump is bad on, I could probably name an instance in where Biden has done something just as bad, if not worse, right?
Yeah.
So that's the front on where it's like when it comes to policy, they're both pretty close to each other, at least when we're looking through like history and what they've done. If
Yeah.
and then there's also the question of, well, what's the difference if Biden does it and if Trump does it? If Biden does it, then the Democratic Party would probably be ruined, whereas compared to if Trump does it, the Democratic Party would probably be more so outraged because it's not someone coming within. They expect this person to display their same ideals, right? If someone who you expect to display the same ideals as you turns away from you and doesn't, that makes you feel alienated from that party. That makes you not want to participate in politics no longer if whoever you're going to vote for is just going to turn their back on you, right? So that's another
Yeah.
part of it. And then it's also the question of if we legitimize this idea that you have to always pick the lesser of two evils, that necessitates that we normalize the suppression, essentially, because it's like, well, although they are bad because they do this oppression, we have to reward them for that because they're less bad than this other person, right? I mean, which obviously, like those
Yeah.
things, I think
I
lead to
guess,
more harm overall. Also, we could probably
and I
talk
guess
about like left wing, like sorry to cut you off. I brought up left wing
no, no,
mobility as
no.
well a little bit. Like under Trump, we've seen a rise in left wing policies like Medicare for all. We've seen a rise in left wing candidates like Bernie. In the Democratic general election that we saw, right, that's happening still now, there's been a dramatic shift towards left wing and populist rhetoric. And that
Another
wasn't
point.
that wasn't something that we were seeing before
In,
when it was
in Obama's term, there were a few progressive lawmakers, but they eventually got like swept away by the Tea Party movement, like Al Grayson from Florida, and like Keith Ellison. These people just couldn't get to understand it because like the anti-establishment fervor that was whipped up by the Tea Party because it was too much for much of them. You know, it's all if it's it's the thing, it's all like dependent. It's like pendulum, it's a pendulum shift, it's like that's how it works.
Yeah.
The enthusiasm.
I agree with you full-heartedly, Lemon, in regards to the correlation of Trump and Biden on terms of policy. They're essentially the same, and I don't think there are many people who would disagree with you on that. I don't think even Xander would disagree if he was being a bit more charitable and just solely on that issue. The issue he kept bringing up though was that I took fervent issue with personally was the social impact of Trump, and
Yeah.
the reason I take personal issue with that is simply because Trump has already established himself by being president as a political figure with a level of sway and influence by just speaking. Him being the president past these 4 years will not do much to affect that level of social sway and influence he has. Being president would more legitimize it, but it would do very little in terms of mitigating that level of harm it can do.
His status won't be affected that much. That's the thing.
It won't be.
I got
If
one.
anything, it would actually
to
an extent bolster his community. There's nothing that conservatives love more than the ability to push some form of victim narrative. If they can somehow get out of this election that they had it stolen from them in some way, or that it wasn't a fair loss, then that can bolster Trump.
You know what was going to happen in 2016 in terms of Trump's plans for the election? He wanted to make his own media thing on Facebook for conservatives, sort of like a Tea Party thing on Facebook, like little media thing.
Hold on, guys. I'm gonna address a comment real quick. Chris, so I wouldn't say that the example you gave is equivalent, right? I wouldn't say buying meat or whatever is equivalent. However, the argument would still apply because even if you say that you're not endorsing the meat or the meat industry or whatever, your money does, right? The money would be equivalent to the ballot. It still would be an ideological endorsement, no matter what. Because your money doesn't, again, display the same nuances you, same as the ballot. Although I don't think the example you gave is equivalent, but still. Anyways, you guys can get back to what you were saying.
Yeah, Trump was not really expecting to win. He was expecting to lose, and he was going to use that to springboard his media thing, his sort of to become a media personality. I'm pretty sure that was.
Yeah, well, he's gained that by winning, even more so, I would say.
I know. And if he were to lose, that he'd still have all of that clout. Maybe he got even more so because it'd be a legitimate sort of thing. He won't go to prison or anything. The system won't let him. Isn't do that. He'll get nothing. Nothing will happen to him.
I personally doubt that he would get incarcerated.
Nothing happened to Bush and his cronies under Obama, so
a fair degree of punishment in the U.S. law system. I don't have that level of trust in that.
No way.
Also, when we're talking about the social impact of them, I don't know. I feel like Biden, his rhetoric probably does too. When we're talking about poor kids are just as smart as white kids, or when we're talking about his rhetoric on the crime bill, where he's calling them predators. We obviously know what he's trying to refer to.
Beyond that, just his treatment of yelling and physically touching his constituents who give him a hard time, give him a question, and he resorts to insults and just all mean-spirited sort of thing. It's just beyond the policy stuff. The whole hostility and reactionary elements of the Trump brand are still there in that way. The whole hostility and sort of thing, even though he doesn't have the charisma or the appeal,
Well, yes, but as well as even extrapolating beyond that, we all know that we all can agree that Obama did some shitty things. There were some shitty things that happened under the Obama administration.
A lot.
Yeah. The significant difference is, at least to us leftists, in regards to the Obama administration, is the level of public discourse and information that was put out to the public in regards to those shitty things that Obama did. Like,
True.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
there's something that always comes up in leftist spaces in regards to deportation is the fact, when we're addressing liberals mostly, that the level of deportation hasn't really changed that much under Trump, and that Obama was doing similar levels. The only real significant difference is now that we're dealing with a Republican in office, there is far more significant coverage of the evils of his administration than there was under Democratic leadership. And it's very likely that if Biden is elected, probably one of the most establishment candidates and the most liked by the media, that any similar atrocities that would be committed by his presidency would be covered up as much, if not even more, than they would during the Obama administration.
Yeah,
Which is
like
why
if,
I was saying, when you were putting the example of what if Biden was to remove Roe v. Wade, and you can probably look back in the comments, I was stating that if he did that, there's a very good chance the American population would not know about it, or it would have been severely covered up by mainstream media outlets
I
through
didn't
some
see.
form of roundabout talk.
I didn't see your comment, but I did. I did try to make a point that, like, why wouldn't
Yeah,
the DNC
Yeah.
establishment try and make a big old narrative to try and keep people from jumping ship on that or something?
yeah, they definitely would, and that is not beneficial for us as who are more progressive or left leaning.
at the end of the day, abortion is just a wedge issue when it comes to it. It's just an issue like the two parties have just cut half and half, and they said, oh, this is we're this side and you're this side. It's just you know it's just these small things that Xander keeps bringing up, well, not small, but these issues, but these are symptomatic of the system at large, and it's so. Going back to the media covering up for Obama and stuff, I didn't know about this, but until last year or so. But in 2009, he authorized a coup in Honduras, and military coup, and I had no idea what happened. He was responsible for it, pretty much.
I didn't know that either, but that's probably because I was a youngin.
Anytime Trump talks to the military, we see it in the news for about a week straight.
Yeah. With Biden, it'll be behind the scenes.
Yeah,
but with
the
Trump, it's
status
all
quo
out there
is
in the open.
complacent.
Yeah,
The status quo is complacency, and we would lose a lot of our fervor and passion towards class struggles and international politics if we move back to that status quo.
That's what I meant. That's what I was trying to say. We become complacent if Biden becomes president.
And that idea,
that of course is not in any way, lending credence to a benefit of a Trump administration continuing past this year.
This is so much more complex than he's letting on.
It's
the reason to
far more
reject
complex.
both.
It's, if anything, I see it as a showcase, as a factor of a broken system.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, to use the I don't remember who did the example about if someone was going to slap you. Who was that?
Punch him. Lemon started that one.
Punch 5 people. Who was that?
That was Lemon.
I give the punch people. So the thing is, if it's a question of harm reduction, if someone comes up to me and says that they're going to punch 10 people if I don't punch 5, am I morally obligated to go punch that 5? And I would say no, because it's not my fault if that other person goes on their own volition and decides to punch 10. I shouldn't engage in that line of thought and then just go out and punch 5 people, because then that falls on me. I've actually done some wrongdoing by actively engaging in actually engaging in that harm against someone, even though it saved more people or punched less people. It wasn't me. It was me who did the punching. You know what I'm saying?
I would have done.
All right. In my perspective, if your intention is harm reduction in that situation, the only answer I would consider acceptable is the one where you punch the person giving you the question.
Absolutely.
In other words, defying the system would be the greatest means of reducing harm. Mm-hmm. Which is why when someone tells me about the trolley problem, I would tell them I'll blow up the rail. because in that state, by removing the system that is imposing the harm, you essentially, at least to the best of your benefit, prevent any harm from occurring to the people that are actually being put in harm.
Mm.
And that's where I kind of see with this situation regarding this election. It
Yeah.
is a lose-lose. Harm will occur regardless. It's just a question of which groups are going to be visibly affected by the harm.
Yeah.
And that's only the case in a system where you work within the system, where you accept the benevolence and the necessity of the system.
Yeah. At the end of the day, like Pig's like feelings towards us is identical to the people who are still angry at Bernie supporters, who are just thinks they're the scum of the earth, that they're spoiled, they're privileged, and that it's the same thing. It's the same thing I heard in like exchanges through the libs online over and over again. It's like we're privileged because we're spoiled and stuff, and it's just and they're so comfortable with where they are. I'm having my issues with Pig, but it's still surreal to hear this coming from him. It's just crazy.
It is somewhat surreal, especially the things he said during his more heated moments. I will not hold that against him because, we all say some negative stuff when we're in those types of moments.
The thing that I would say
it was enough for me to feel as though I cannot support him I can't personally support him until I am shown some form of significant change.
Mm.
I support him. I support him. I don't.
Yeah, I wish him the best. I look forward to significant change. That's my stance.
Yes.
I'm fine with like the ad homs. Like I'm not offended by them.
Yeah.
So it's kind of whatever. But as long as like
that's what I said. It's my personal thing. I don't hold it against anyone else regarding their position towards Pig. This is just my personal standards I have to hold myself to.
One of the
he is getting a lot of heat from this, rightfully so, and of course it's stressing him out. I can see.
One of the because there's a lot of fights on the Bernie or Buster vote blue, no matter who. Understandable to be stressed out over it because there's a lot of people on each side, and and making arguments that may or may not be good. What I was going to say is the one thing I was going to comment on is the class reductionist thing. Is like I don't really see how this whole thing in any way, shape, or form relates back to class reductionism, which is the idea or the rejection of intersectionality.
In regards to which stance is it being claimed to be class reductionist? The Bernie or bust?
I suppose. I don't know. You just asked when I left if any other class reductionists wanted to debate him, and I mean, I think it was just out of anger. I don't think he'd actually think that Bernie or Busters are class reductionists. He does have tendency
of pushing those out as just ad homs rather than when he gets angry, he just calls people stuff like.
That's pretty dangerous.
It can be.
It's not good.
It can be.
It's not good. Especially not a fan of the admitted ableism.
Oh yeah, no, the R slur was a bit much.
That was a big oof.
He is losing. He is isolating really hard right now.
Especially considering what happened with Corviday on Twitter yesterday.
He's burning quite a bit of bridges. And it's not looking good for him. I gotta say. That's all I'm gonna say right now. It's just an observation.
I think he's alright. But the thing on the ableism stuff is y'all, you don't the dirtbag left or whatever they would be called. I don't know if he's part of it says he's part of the dirtbag left or not.
Someone wants to join in debate. Some new person. From Xanderhal's chat, I guess.
From Xanderhal's chat?
In a minute.
I'll remember him then.
Yeah, we can debate in a second, but what I was going to say is...
Should I make a member?
I already did.
Alright, no matter.
What I was going to say is, where were we? I had something. Oh, the dirtbag left doesn't understand that they don't need to use that ableist rhetoric because it's not that in that instance isn't pulling anyone in. In that instance, it can only isolate people. It can only alienate people from your community or left-wing communities, whatever.
Yeah. If you were to go up to your average Joe and ask them, hey, why don't you want to be on the left? They're not going to say, I want to use my slurs, and they don't let me. That is absolute nonsense to me. The issue I have is not the concept of them wanting to use this language. It is like the sort of pushback they give, like their stubbornness to like adjust. It's like they want to hold on to this so badly, and they don't want to move on from it.
It's like, I mean, go
I
ahead,
think
be
I think
edgy.
it
Call me
comes
a head
down to a
ass. But
misunderstanding.
Mm.
For the dirtbag left, as we're, I guess, calling them, or at least those ones who believe that ableist language should some way be enabled or is useful.
Yeah.
I think it comes down to a misunderstanding. Because I remember Pig, when I now started getting involved with him, there was a lot of the stance that using these more edgy terminologies and language in some way allows a greater growth or breadth of community to develop. I disagree with that simply because the types of people who would be inclined towards leftist politics, the kind of people who like the average moderate, the average Joe, the average chud, even at least. It's not as though they look at their watch like once a day and it's like, God damn, I haven't called someone an F word in like 24 hours. There isn't a substantial need for them to use this language. It's not integrated into them. It's a part of their community. They use it because they are part of the community. And if they're in an environment where that is not used, they very rarely will ever even use that language. It's only in cases where they start getting pushback for that. And as a
Yeah.
media figure, by enabling them and reminding them, hey, remember you can say the A word, right? It doesn't really help
Yes.
in any way creating a more progressive space.
Yeah, they're in a
If
community.
anything, it stopgates it.
Yeah, because they're in a community that like reinforces that. Yeah. Oh, hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
hello
So
there.
hello.
Hi.
You said you come from Xander's community?
Yeah, I came from this community. I'm Bernie or Bust myself. I'm
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
Interesting.
Hi.
you just out of curiosity,
You
were
wanna
you
you wanna give your story? I guess.
Oh,
What brings you to this corner of the internet? Oh,
one at a time, one at a time, one at a time.
yeah, my bad.
Uh, I did see the point Xanderhal was making about Biden being harm reduction, but the problem is it's not much of a harm reduction because, well,
Yeah. In 8 years, it's just gonna just collapse in on itself like it did with Trump.
I think you cut off.
Yeah, you cut
Oh,
off. I
what?
noticed that.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Oh, yikes.
Do you have push to talk or are you on voice activity?
I'm on voice. I don't have my
Check
mic.
your voice
But,
sensitivity to see if it's like picking up your normal, like the normal mode you speak at, normal like volume. Because it sounds like you're being cut off due to voice sensitivity.
hmm.
You good now?
It should be, yeah.
All right. So yeah, you were saying.
Hold on one second.
Okay, take your time.
Okay, there we go. Sorry, I'm new to like this. I usually don't go podcast or really debate.
It's all right. Everyone's got a first day, you know.
He mentioned Biden being harm reduction to Trump. Well, the problem with Biden being harm reduction is the problem is
Someone's got a little bit of background noise if they can.
That's Mike. That's Mike.
Is it's
We can't hear you. Are you talking, Power?
oh, sorry. I'm still going to get my thoughts together.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
no,
Fine.
understandable. No worries.
If I'm correct, Biden is a former if I'm correct, Biden was a former segregationist.
Yes. Well, he worked together with segregationists. He was definitely segregationist. Well, he wasn't. He was against desegregation when it came to busing.
But he did give the eulogy at Strom Thurmond's funeral in 2000.
Yeah, that. Yeah, that alone is kind of enough to disclose for
Definitely.
him from harm reduction, because Strom Thurmond's like legacy is so terrible that a House Majority Leader had to resign.
Hmm.
Also, Joe Biden said Dick Cheney was a pretty cool guy, so there you go.
Yeah, Nathan Robinson compared him to Dick Cheney.
Yeah, I can easily see like Biden being in Bush Jr.'s circle, to tell you the truth. And that's kind of scary. They're
His
politically.
claims to be a centrist candidate doesn't help as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, dude, the fact that he actually said that he was willing to like try and have a Republican vice president, or that he was open to the idea,
Yes.
is absurd.
What's
I'm
the worst?
surprised that's not considered political suicide.
The
in
worst
the Democratic Party.
The worst part is that apparently he's considering like the mayor of Michigan as like his running mate, and she is apparently a former executive for Blue Cross Blue Shield.
I'm unaware what that is.
Isn't most of Biden's cabinet going to be corporate, like Jamie, Dimon and Bloomberg and numerous other?
Blue Cross Blue Shield is like one of the biggest healthcare companies, health insurance companies.
On the front where I was talking about climate change, I forgot to bring up that Joe Biden's got like almost like $400,000 of donations from them during during like his political career or whatever.
He got donations from a person who gave to like the Trump Victory Fund. It's just crazy to me. It's like the same people just saying. That's what drives me insane. The people at the top, they don't care who wins at all.
Maybe there is like maybe those people wanted Biden to win because they think he'd be easier for Trump to beat. You never know.
Yeah, just in case. Power, you want to say something?
That's something I've seen quite a lot.
Does anyone know what Biden's support among rural voters and union workers is?
I don't know.
Like if it's high or low, I'd imagine high. I'm pretty sure. Didn't he win like Michigan pretty heftily?
Yeah, that was surprising. Especially after that fiasco, like him yelling at that hard hat worker.
Yeah, I think he won it by a good margin.
I think every county actually.
Yeah, he won it by like almost 300,000 votes.
Yeah,
so
that's
probably pretty high. Probably pretty high when it comes to rural and union workers.
I guess it's to be seen.
Well, there are all these exit poll discrepancies for like every single like election after South Carolina. From what I heard, a lot of them are, or the Bernie one anyway. Not Bernie one. I'm sorry, messed up. There's a lot of exit poll discrepancies as far as I can tell. And the discrepancies are big enough that the UN would say that election fraud is possible there. Yeah, so it's like, what can you do? I don't know. I don't know what Biden's support upon unions is. Apparently, like Bernie didn't really try to reach out to a lot of unions, unfortunately. But apparently, most of the biggest unions are like super embedded in the Democratic establishment, regardless. So, you want to say something, Power?
I'm guessing Biden's gonna probably lose the election. He already lost most of the pro-gun and probably some anti-gun people from having people in his organization.
Yeah, he's a genuinely unlikable person. So.
Yeah.
Honestly, man, I don't know.
Running in a two-party state as a center-of-the-road candidate is not really a very strong position.
It is not.
Because for the people that want it may be good enough in the sense for like the more progressive leftist side where we have to compare him to Trump as a potential winner, but for the people who the claim is actually being made in order to persuade, as in the more middle of the road conservative types, why would they pick someone who's Democratic but slightly conservative when they can just pick a conservative?
It's like that Harry Truman quote.
They'd rather lean on that side of the front, the DNC, because as like I've heard it before. I think Pump, you sent the video is of that one campaign manager or whatever. He's on MSNBC now, where he said that something along the lines like where the left has like nowhere to go, right?
Oh yeah.
So they can only go to the center candidate.
And like like 15, nearly 15 years old now. That clip.
Welcome, Mac Darris, I guess. Was the chat that bad? How was the pig chat looking?
I'm not sure. I wasn't looking at chat, but I think a lot of people, what's the word? Said or had frustrations with probably the both of us, as it would appear.
I heard him yelling at the chat, so that's probably.
But there was also a lot of people, I'm pretty sure, who are like
is the stream over?
Yeah,
I think Xander's stream is over.
Yeah, I guess no one else joined.
I thought he was going to debate
you were in
Celia attack. I guess he's just more
I
down.
thought it sounded like if he was going to do call-ins for a second there.
Nope. No more call-ins or anything in the past, I guess.
Oh yeah, YouTube chat is always trash. Don't worry.
I love YouTube chat, and
no matter where you are.
I don't get the point of making a website. What's the point of making a website, really? Like, what do? I guess emotes. You get emotes if you don't use Twitch.
It was I think Vosh did it. Vosh did it because he was banned from Twitch and he wanted something like similar that people can engage in.
Well, I think it gives like a certain level of control to the to the streamer, but I don't see it to be significant enough.
It's not.
I mean, you could tweak around with the aesthetic of the site more than you could with a YouTube page. That's about it, really.
Just makes it easier to ban people, really, because they like have to sign up and stuff.
It does make it easier to ban you.
It's also
it also does make it harder to like get just flooded, I guess.
Oh, true.
So I actually have a question.
It's also easier for people to donate.
I'm looking for that Harry Truman quote. Here it is. Harry Truman said, "Given a choice between a Republican and a Democrat who acts like a Republican, the voters will pick the Republican every time." Harry Truman said that, apparently.
Yeah. What's up, Power?
You got a question? What did I miss here?
I think they're talking to someone in real life, but I think they did say they had a question.
I'm actually going to ask about Bread too, because I've noticed that they have a distinct lack of black representation in like the circles and things like podcasts, getting them on, or it comes across as condescending.
Wait, what comes across as condescending?
It's very much a reflection of like.
It makes logical sense when you think of the most privileged people who would have the most free time. Yes. You're not thinking trans people. You're not thinking black people. You're thinking it's going to be mostly white male. So that kind of is why.
Yeah, the African American people, the majority of them who do make political content and are successful in doing so, are conservative, as far as I can tell.
Hold on, I'm trying to think of the one who. The one that's probably like the most prominent bread tuber.
Prominent?
They debated Vosh. Something. This is gonna hold on. They debated Vosh.
The most prominent bread.
Who's
the most prominent bread tuber?
The most prominent POC?
Yeah, POC bread tuber. I'm trying to think.
Suck my opinion.
Yes,
that was Suck My Opinion.
Yes, that's who I was thinking.
Apparently that ended on a sour note for a second. I didn't watch it myself.
Wait, he ended?
Yeah, like people of color. I don't think really right now. Don't really have like the luxury of like reading into this stuff. It's like, like they're the environment they're in. It's just not
just that as well. The type of content that is made by BreadTube is very catered towards a more white majority. Yes. The types of opinions, the types of perspectives that are given, they more resonate with the white majority that have the types of access and free time to be politically involved at this level online. We see it quite prominently with the POCs that actually do go out. There isn't a significant level of attention that is given towards them as much. I can't really say the exact reason for it without going armchair psychologist on possibilities, but there is a distinct difference in terms of the perspective and the intention of the audience that the perspective is being made for in the content. When it comes from a POC, it comes from the more standard white person that we see amassing on BreadTube.
someone left a comment. They said Bernie needs to drop. And to that, I'm just asking why. Literally, it makes no sense. It's the Democratic primary.
This is actually something I've heard from a lot of white leftists. To some extent, like Bernie's not going to be able to win. He still has no chance, even though there are like half the primaries, so most of the states haven't been determined yet.
If Bernie's not going to win, and that means he should drop out, then Joe Biden should just drop out now because he's not going to win against Trump.
Definitely. It's like more and more shit is going to come out on Biden by August when the convention is apparently going to happen, which is, I heard it might be virtual, apparently.
Bruh. It's on a Zoom meeting?
Speaking of which, the governor of Wisconsin, who initially signed an executive order postponing the primaries, the GOP controlled legislature went to the Supreme Court and now it's back on. So, and the whole absentee extension that he got, that's gone too. So it's Bernie's probably not going to do well in Wisconsin tomorrow. Fuck. Anyway, yeah. Yeah. Turnout's not gonna be happy. That turnout's not gonna be good there.
Professor Foxtrot, that's not true whatsoever. Okay, you said if Bernie had dropped out and supported Hillary, he changed it to earlier than he did. That's still not true. Bernie did over 30 plus rallies.
Campaign hard as hell for it, and he still won because our campaign failed in sweet states.
She didn't lose because Bernie didn't endorse her or whatever. She lost because she was unable to appeal to the white working men or working class in general in swing states or in the Rust Belt states. That's just true. If she would have done anything to appeal to them,
known for being a corrupt candidate and inspires hatred across almost all political spectrums. So,
yeah, another thing that Pig brought up that is something another thing I heard from a bunch of liberals is Trump won because of racism. I don't know what's going on with him. I have no idea. I'm genuinely
Trump. Well, it depends what you mean.
Actually, but it wasn't the main.
It was.
Yeah,
it wasn't racism towards Obama, I don't think, but it was Trump's capitalization on racial anxieties that people have because they have economic anxieties as well. So when Trump's over here and no more stealing jobs, blah 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 blah, obviously that's going to appeal to your white working class people.
Pig didn't take into account the factors of the underwhelming performance of the Obama administration and their misgivings in terms of people who did go out to vote for him before but stayed home afterwards because the economy wasn't doing so well, stuff for them. The jobs weren't coming in, the wages and stuff, Pig does not do nuance very well, I gotta say. So, are you a member of Pig's Community Power or Xanderhal's community?
Oh, are you referring to me?
Yeah. Are you in is Discord a frequent viewer of Xanderhal, or did you just stumble up by tonight?
Oh, I've been a part of Xanderhal and I think Voices chat for a while. I'm also in a song. I'm not a major modder in their chats.
Did you say Hassan?
Oh
man.
Lemon and Hassan have a thing. So
I don't know. Wait, what do you mean by that? What are you insinuating?
They got a little
back and forth.
Basically, Hassan makes up 75% of the shit posts, basically.
That's true. Hassan is most of my shit posts on my channel. However, I haven't been watching Hassan much because he keeps playing fucking COD, and no one wants to watch Hassan play COD. That's why he's dropped down to 4K viewers, 5K viewers, when he used to be pulling 9K consecutively when he was doing React Andy and political content stuff. No one wants to see Warzone, bruh.
It's he's just playing games now.
That's what he's been doing for now. He'll switch back to React Andy and political content.
So he's taking a break, but I guess it's not doing well viewer-wise.
I mean, he's still getting 4K, 5K. For him, it's whatever.
He's getting more than Destiny anyway. I know, but I've been kind of really apprehensive of Vosh, but apparently he's been making kind of strides lately.
I like Vosh.
Yeah.
I think that there's several things in which Vosh could change for the better. But
yeah, I agree.
Overall, Vosh probably is good. I like Vosh.
What was that?
Like black podcasters on. That is a problem.
Well, I can't hear. I didn't understand what you just said.
I'm sorry. What was that? Repeat.
Black Radar, Jet Cloud, Dead Man in Animations, numerous like black leftist podcasters more.
Wait, what? What
He's talking about Black Leftist Podcast. He named some.
Okay.
What about
No, just to have them on for like their perspective on the issue because they've done.
Oh, you think Vosh should have them on? I don't know.
I do think. Are you talking about platforming? I guess in that sense, or do you think like he should what's the word? Build a form of coalition or unity. Platforming.
Yeah.
I agree with you on that. We definitely should be working within these communities to give a platform to more diverse perspectives.
RedTube is in desperate need for these kind of thing, like what DOSLime does, promoting these small YouTubers that you'd never probably hear of ever otherwise.
RedTube,
this should be a focus.
We can extend beyond Fortzime's eyeball zone for stuff like streamers and whatnot because they have that live element in there. When there's just a video, the most you can really do is either do a collab video where like halfway through some new guy shows up and it's like, hey, check out my channel, please, dear God, please just look at it. It's in the it's in the description. Please just click it.
Well, RedTube
when
is
you're on stream. You can get a better grasp of the person, I guess. Maybe not that good of a grasp of their content, but at least an idea of the person behind the content. And you have far more room to present your idea and your perspective.
Yeah, because videos, it's like section. Yeah, I see what you mean.
This is tangentially related.
It's not that hard, you know. Just spend like one day not looking at PragerU and call someone on Discord.
Yeah, they need to do call-ins more. Well, actually, I think Vosh does call-ins.
Yeah, Vosh has a decent amount of call-ins.
Yeah, and Xander's like, I have too many people on my Discord now.
One day too.
He never does it.
Which was based. It was a good AMA, I'd say. Aside from like just like I think there was like one. I heard there was like one part of it where it got kind of heated, with like some guy. But aside from that, it was a good AMA.
Yeah, it's important to like stay in touch with your audience like that, especially when it like gets that size.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think I'm gonna end the stream here. Do y'all have anything to say to the stream?
Share Leftist Lemon's content.
Thank you.
Yes. Get this man into like the 4-digit view count, you know?
That would be appreciated. Well, I was gonna say something about RedTube. I was gonna say I think RedTube's overall good, but like also like the heroes, like RedTube there's too many heroes. Know what I'm saying?
Too many what heroes?
Yeah. Where it's like you'll just believe what the content creator says, like just because you're like a fan of them, but like not because you actually look into it. Yeah.
Stan culture does not belong in a leftist movement.
In any political movement.
Any political movement, but especially the leftist community, because that's the one we're in, and that's a personal problem that affects us. You know.
Yes.
So
anyways,
please self-educate, go out, question what you hear.
Yeah.
Don't just believe some pundit.
That includes on this channel.
No echo chambers.
Actually, no. Don't
But
question
like,
what you
you
hear.
know,
I
actually, you can believe me.
don't question what you hear here. I am
Believe me.
right. I'm a one-party democracy. I control the media and the narrative. Anyways, I'm gonna end the stream. If y'all liked it, drop a like. All my social media links are in the description. Peace.